Morning, guys. How is everyone this morning? Hope everyone is well. I think we do some news. Actually, the news has already come out, I think. FOMC member Williams speaking. I don't know whether he's currently speaking. I've just had a browse on YouTube, see if there's any live stream. Nothing's really happening, I don't think. So I hope everyone's well. How are you, Jim? Nicholas? How are you? Hope everyone is doing well. So it is the 8th of February, and this is the 2000 tick chart, the S&P 500 futures market. So it was quite an exciting day after the news moved. We had a huge, sort of massive push up, then we had a sell off, and then we had another push up again. I managed to get a 6-point runner, which got me out of, I was down about $250, I think, and I got a 6-point runner when the market was going up. So I thought it may be worth coming back. So Ionis, good morning. Leading loser, let's get it today. Yeah, it's been tough trading lately. There's been some real odd trading days, I've got to say. See how we get on, but there is some more. It's only medium impact news tonight, 6 o'clock, probably long gone by then. Grandpa Roger, how you doing, my friend? Missed the action yesterday. Yeah, it was a massive big. I took a long. Where was it? I can't remember now. I think, was it? We had such a strong push up. I took a long there and got out for 6 points. Was it there? I think it was there, actually. We had this big strong push up, and then we had a sell off. I think it was there. So I ended up managing to get out the red and the green, so that's all good. And then we just had a massive big push up again. So here we are. Who else we got in? Hey, Jacko. Hey, what? How you doing? Good to see you ending in the green. Yeah, I thought it was worth coming back. Sometimes, see, when you got the news and it's big news, it's just boring and dull and hard going. And sometimes when you come back and give it sort of 20 minutes to sort itself out, if it does push strong in a decent direction, then then you may get an opportunity. So James Morris, considering trying Apex, how do you find withdrawal? Do you find different bank accounts? How is it being funded by them? Are their rules harder? Thanks. Okay, James, where are you from? James Morris. That sounds like a good old British name. Okay, I've had one payment last month out of Apex. No issues with payment. I never doubted there would be. Now, I've used about 3 or 4. Hey Sam, how you doing? About 3 or 4 different prop firms. And for the last, I'd say, best part of 12 months, I've stuck with Apex. Purely and simply because their rules, or lack of them, they just can't be beaten. They had a load of new rules, or they dropped a new, because you used to have to trade for 25 trading days before you can make a withdrawal. It's only 10 now. You used to have to trade for 10 days on an evaluation. Now it's only 7. So when I started my PA accounts, I built a passive valuation and withdrew $2,000 within the month. So, and as of early hours of the morning, well, I got an email early hours of the morning. They've taken it up to 80% off. So that's good news. So that's I thought it would be a matter of time. So, but yeah, in all honest opinion, ask anybody else here. You just can't beat Apex. You really can't. And at the moment, to do a $50,000 evaluation costs about $33. So if you do decide to, or anybody decides to, I have a code on here and I get a small kickback. It doesn't cost you anything more, but if you use that code there for an evaluation, any evaluation, and as many as you like, I think up to 20, you get 80% off. So it's a good deal at the moment. And I believe it's on for a week. It finishes on Valentine's Day. So that's that. So yeah, hope everyone is well. So the market is due open in about 3.5 minutes. I think I'm something like 15 or 20 seconds ahead of you. So, well, not including the 5 hours UK time. But we're getting a lot of sideways again. I'm assuming that the speaker is still talking. But you guys might be able to enlighten me there. So we'll see how we get on. So that's that. Okay, so yeah, I'm up to just under about $65, under $1,500 in this evaluation. So this is day 5, 6, 7. Yeah, this is day 5, I think. Yes, day 5. So obviously, most of you are aware you can pass it in 7 days. So we'll see what happens. See how we get on. Correct. LOL. British name. I thought was much. I'll be taking the 80% discount for sure. Yeah, it's a good deal at the moment. There's just there, on my honest opinion, and you can ask. I'm not biased, although I use them. They don't pay me for anything. I make a kickback on the evaluations, but as you can see, I've got an Apex account myself, and I've been using them, as you can see, and I'll show you how many Apex accounts I've blown. There we go. So Apex come back at basically 12 months. I've done a couple on one, 2, 3, about 10, 12 on UProfit, and 3 on Earn to Trade. I'm sure there was another one somewhere. Maybe not. So that was my own account. So yeah, UProfit, Earn to Trade, and Apex. You just can't beat Apex. Honest to God, have a look on the websites yourself, but there you go. You just cannot beat Apex. And yeah, the $50,000, 80% off as from today. So it's available now. So that code's there if you want to use it. So yeah, you just can't wrong. You've blown 9 so far. Well, that's actually pretty low, to be fair, Sam. So you're doing quite well, mate. But what I would say is, if you are in the stage of blowing them, my honest opinion, just do one at a time. I mean, it's your choice, of course, but I always had that idea that if I'm blowing accounts, I'd rather blow 1 at a time than 2, 3, or 4, But if you are managing to build them up, then obviously the plan for me will be to get more accounts, because obviously you keep your contract size low, and hence the amount of money that's flashing before your eyes doesn't have as much of a psychological effect on you. So it is a good way of spreading the risk. And for instance, if you had 10 accounts, you can withdraw $2,000 off each account in the first 3 months. So you can work out 10 times $2,000. It's a fair old chunk of change that you can withdraw. If you can manage to get 10 accounts past an evaluation and get to over $2,600, you can withdraw $20,000 there. So wouldn't that be nice, Jacko? Would be nice. See, at the moment, Jacko, I'm assuming the should I buy 1 or more while it's 80%? Well, it's 80%. Well, I actually would. If you're new to it, my honest opinion is just get 1. But if you're managing to build them up, then you can get more. But yeah, it's the 80% off from now. If you use that code, you'll get 80% off. So you'll pay $33, which in UK pounds is about 28 quid, I think. So that deal is on for 7 days, I believe. So, it's there if you want it. But if you are blowing them, my honest opinion is just do 1 at a time. Otherwise, it's going to have much more of a financial burden on you. It's like a downward bias. Certainly does, mate, doesn't it? Brant, I looked at I looked at Mac's chart, that one I took yesterday. Mac had the chart drawn the same as me, but he obviously didn't take the trade. What I'm going to do from now on, and I've said this, and you've said this, and we've all said this, I need to forget about the bigger pictures at the time. I can't remember what it was now, but Mac had it drawn. Was it here? That was it, yeah. Second entry, I think. No, it wasn't. Somewhere else. but I had my bigger picture drawn, and we had a second entry, which we did, but I think it was more up a bit, side was a bit up a bit. So I think I got caught into the sort of momentum of the bigger trends, which we've all had issues with, and I certainly have. Instead of concentrating on the small term stuff, choppy as shit at the moment, isn't it? But yeah, the small term trend channels, they'll generally keep you out of trouble. So I notice Marco didn't draw the bigger channel. Mac did, but he didn't pick up on the trend or even, the trade or mention it. Purely and simply because it started going sideways. So, but we live and learn. Definitely looks, we live and learn. We've all done it, and we all do it again sometime. But I'm just trying to concentrate on the small stuff instead of straight away. See, I could have picked that up. I could have gone for something like that. I'm not saying it's not like that, but it's very easy to forget about these short-term trend channels, and these really are your bread and butter. They help you work things out and try to keep you safe. So I've got to focus more on there. So is this, do you know, Brant, is the news now? Is the speaker chatting away now, is it? Because it looks like there's news being talked about or announced. I'm unsure. After the double bottom and the final push-up yesterday, a nice rally fell second entry trade. Only one for the day. That's it. As long as it's a winner, that's the main thing. Where Chanel, the runner, went out 30 points. Well, actually, I think that was the one that the Gorilla guy took. I think it went up as much as 37 points, but I think he took 32 points. So, see, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But obviously, after these news events, sometimes you can get some really good moves as long as you sort of give it time to sort of flit around and do all the bouncing, and then when it starts, then I mean, look at that yesterday. I think we had that initial push up, didn't we? Here, then we had the big pullback, a little bit of sideways, and off we went again. But I mean, if you'd have had the nerve to run that up to there, Christ Almighty, you could have made some serious money. I don't know if you'd taken something, say, around here. I mean, look at that. Even there, you could have some serious points there. But it's easy when you know how after the fact, isn't it? But yeah, we got a bit of a downward thing. I don't know whether there's anything specifically as I don't know, maybe it's a spike in channel or something. I don't know, but I don't know, maybe something like that, possibly. I don't know. It does seem sideways and then down a sideways, so I'm going to leave that alone. Sometimes they can get you a bit in trouble, but we do seem to have sort of a bit of sideways, something like that. Let's put it about there, and then we seem to have another leg down and another bunch of the sideways stuff. It does look to me like that this news event, FOMC member Williams is speaking. That looks like people are a bit unsure and they're sitting tight. So maybe that is the news that's being talked about. Not sure if he's still talking. If these guys don't typically have a great effect on the market, yeah. Nothing seems to bounce all over the place, but it does seem to be sometimes when they have these talks, it does tend to sort of go up and down a little bit and a bit of sideways. But I worked quite well on my patience yesterday, so I'm quite happy to sit through this. It's part and parcel of it, isn't it? But we have some lower impact news, medium impact news, but that's not until later. So we should be done and dusted by then. Oh. Oh, that's better. Nice cup of tea. Rookie trader. Kyle, first time commenting. Good luck, everyone. Thank you, rookie trader. Where are you from, bud? Yeah, I've not seen you before. It's nice to know where people are from. Comment away. Insult me if you like. I love insults. You get used to them when you're married. So you got a decent runner as well, did you, Jacko? Trouble is, it's hard to predict those. You seem to get a massive big push up. You think great news, then it pulls back, then it pushes up. But it's weird. Whenever we have this good news and we get a big push, we always tend to recover it. Always tends to make it back, doesn't it? You think good news is good news, keeps going up. You're from Gloucester, are you? Pretty local compared to... Yeah, you are. You're sort of, where are you? South Worcester area, somewhere in there, north, south, east. Southeast from Worcester, I think, somewhere around there, aren't you? Yeah, it's getting quite a few guys from the UK here. A couple of guys on here from Aberdeen way. Yeah, there's quite a few UK guys. Coming thick and fast. We're usually outnumbered by the US guys. They always take over, don't they? They do. Who else is from the UK? James Morris, he's from the UK as well. Who else is in from the UK? Somewhere else. I can't remember now. You're not doing runners. Not experience enough, I guess. I suppose it depends on how many contracts you're doing, really, as well, doesn't it? I tend to try and run all mine a little. It doesn't work out too bad, actually, but once I get to around about the 3.5, 4 points, I tend to bottle it. But that'll come in time, I think, won't it? Yeah, just south of Worcester. Yeah, I know Worcester. I used to live in Worcester just for a short period of time, a long time ago. Shrewsbury, we know, Shropshire, so we're only about 50, 60 mile from you, something like that. Not a million miles away. So that works out better, actually. It's weird, isn't it? This midline, look, bum, 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 bouncing on the top and bouncing underneath. Midline, possibly the open as well. Now I've just brought this range channel around. Interesting to see what happens when we get to here. Got a lot of congestion at this top. I think he was talking yesterday about getting this interest rate down to about 2% by mid next year, I think. Probably a good chunk of it this year, but this year and a chunk of next year, aiming to get down the interest rate down to 2%. So at least we know we're heading in the right direction. And hopefully the markets may respond positively, I think. At least it's got us all thinking that we're on the way out of the woods slowly. So now I've got some of my pension in the S&P 500, actually, about 50% of it, actually. I think I transferred it over a couple of months ago when it was quite low, so... I was going to put this as a bit of a spike and channel, but actually most of it fits there, doesn't it? Kind of fits both ways, really, doesn't it? It's not a massive amount of difference between them. Let's put it there because at least I like to think then. Yeah, I'd rather say break new high. I don't want to get at least. Yeah, it looks like to me something like that. Looks all right, actually. I can't. It's negligible if you put it as a spike and channel. Really, if you put it as a spike and channel, it does pick up those through them, but it looks like a bit sideways then a break to me. So there is. I was expecting maybe a bounce or a little bit of congestion at the top because if you look there, it's bouncing off it, isn't it? I certainly don't want to get involved in one of these. I've given up picking tops and bottoms because I guaranteed it'll come right down. The second I get in there, it'll tick me in and fly off like a rocket. But I've just got caught too many times in these picking tops and bottoms, so I'm giving these a break. And these typical though, isn't it? But I sort of did expect it, but I'm quite happy to leave them alone. Yeah. That's what I thought. But yeah, it makes sense to me. That does. I'm not going to get involved up here anyway. I just tend to watch. But if you look here, it has bounced. Same here, down and stopped there. Same again. It's definitely used this line, whether you call it the midline or the open. Either or, they're both more or less in the same place. But it is. It does seem to be holding prices, and I sort of expected the chance of it doing that, I think, was reasonably. I think it was quite reasonable, but yeah, I'm just giving up these for now. I'll just watch them. I'm happy to watch him and learn from him, and then maybe I might get back in that game at some point. The trouble is, lately, when you get range days, going back maybe 12 or 18 months, range days, they seem to just finish at more or less the same place within a few ticks. But over the last few months or 6 months, every time we get a range day, they're finishing up here, then here, then here, then here, then they're all over the place, and it's just so hard to trade them safely. So I think the better option is, yes, if you. That's part of the reason why I incorporated that break, because if I dragged it here, I'd be thinking break new high. Now, there's probably some, I think it's likely we may make a new high here. I think there's probably a lot of traders that might draw that in one shot, but I'd rather err on the side of caution, because if you look there, if anybody is going to go there, there's a chance that might come down and stop you out. See. So it could be 2 legs down and then a new high, or it might be coming straight down. That's the trouble. It's a bit iffy, this. Certainly a channel, but whether you incorporate that or not, I'd certainly say it's more likely that it sort of fits better. So I'm quite happy to say we've had a break and a new high. So I'm not thinking about going along, because if you're going to get trapped here, it's going to be going along, I think. I'd say there's probably going to be some longs in there, and who knows, it might make a new high, but when it's a bit too close to call, probably the safer option is to just leave it alone. Yeah, it's probably going to make a new high, because I think a lot of people will draw that, or they might think maybe it's not a convincing enough break, but who knows. We'll see if it pops above here. But it's certainly, price is certainly holding here. So if you're going to go long there isn't a massive amount of points, is there? So whether it's worth taking the risk, what would you have got now? You wouldn't have got a point out of that. So you got 3/4 out of that, maybe a point depending on where you got in. But it's going sideways a little bit, isn't it? Because there's a little bit of uncertainty there. Okay, is that break? It's not a very convincing break, but sometimes when these got quite sharp, they barely come out. You expect these channels to come back to the EMA, bounce a couple of times, then make a new high, but when it is quite tight like this, they don't often come out a lot, so it's easy to get stuck in there. I wouldn't be shocked at all if that got stopped. And if it did, then it would be a trade I was quite happy, or it could do a couple of legs down. It certainly looks like 1 leg, 2 legs. And maybe that might be the option, but I'm staying out of this at the moment, because it's questionable whether that's had a break. But if you went long there, you wouldn't have got a point. But it might be 2 legs down, but I'm quite happy to leave that alone. Sensible decision, I think, on my point, on my behalf, or whatever you want to call it. Who knows? It might go higher, but I'm counting that as a break. Yeah, certainly more traders thinking that's the new high. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That does now, the way that's operating. I don't think it's going to go back up now. It'll come down, I think. So, small pullback maybe. That's probably going to be a couple of legs down, I'd say. Let's have a look. There, maybe here somewhere. Just going to try and keep these bread and butter short-term trend channels in place. So yeah, push up, break new high. Trying to go on once. If we push below there and then had a little bit of a pullback higher, I'd have taken that then as a failure. It's not giving us an opportunity. Moo trades. I like that. Moo trades. Yeah, it was a third touch of the downtrend. I went short at the lower height. Yeah, I think it was safe to you could have gone short there, couldn't you? Because I dare. So there was a break new high there. So there was there's probably going to be a few longs there. Not a huge amount, but it's hard to tell really. I mean, if there is a lot there, you can usually tell how quick that moves, but it came down not rapidly, did it? But so that's a push. So there's a break. So it's not often you get a decent break like that, to be honest with you. So first entry, this is technically a failure. Let's just get one ready. It's hard to say at the moment. It could have just, I mean, realistically, that you could class that as a break if you look at it. I don't think most will, but it is congested here. Yeah, I'm just leaving that alone. I think it's a bit unpredictable, that. Yeah, as every time it's gone up there, same here, same here. Yeah, that wasn't a bad trade. That, well, I'd have preferred it a bit higher, but some will have gone short there. Maybe some there, I don't know. There's not much of a distance there, and it is congested around there, so I don't really want to be taking a trade there and getting stuck in that lot, because it might not come right down. It might, reverse, but at least it's starting to be a bit predictable, which is a good sign. If it moves in these nice, neat waves, push up, break new high. Trying to go once, trying to go twice and down. Yeah. See, it's just a bit unpredictable. I wouldn't like to be stuck in that anyway. I don't like it when you get two bars back to back like that, because messy. Yeah, so we're certainly in this bottom section at the moment. So that has played out. See what happens down here. See if we get a nice big bullish bar down here. I don't know whether I'll take it, maybe not. I want to try and stay away from, but the way that's moving, every time it comes in, it's pushing off, and same here. It's working quite neatly. Now that I wouldn't have taken because it wasn't a bit higher. But if we get like especially that's played out with push out and a pullback, and we get something nice like this or something, then we'll see. But I did think it was a sort of out of bearish sort of existence, but we've just had this couple of legs down, and apart from that little spike out, we've pretty much gone sideways within that area. So I wouldn't expect this to come down. I wouldn't say it was bearish at the moment. It looked like it was bearish up to that point, but we'll see what happens over here. If we bounce up here and come back up here, then I'd say we're sort of ranging at the moment, but I've just got to be careful I don't get stuck into something stupid. I draw the wide downtrend. I tend to avoid those now, because the trouble is, if it's not correct, it's very easy to get suckered into believing something is. But although it doesn't fit too bad, actually, come to think about it. That's a good call, mate, actually. It looks all right, that. I did leave it alone. I had it down here somewhere initially, but then as we've picked that up, that looks... we'll see what happens. See if it comes lower than this. But it looks like it's bouncing off there. So that's what I mean. It's hard to say, isn't it? You could sort of take a trade here, really, couldn't you? Thinking it's going to come down into this, but it might bounce off here. So that's the trouble with these bigger downtrends. Sometimes they can give you a bit of a false sense of security. So that... well, it's not fairly, because that's a new high. It's not even a second entry long, but that's a place where you may want to look at going short, isn't it? But at the moment, because I don't know whether it's likely to come down into this area here, or whether it's still, at the moment, for me, the bottom of this range is more important than this downtrend, because at the moment, everything's bouncing off it. So I'm just going to take that off just for a time being. If it continues to come down, I'll add that back in. But I want to just concentrate at the moment. We're ranging at the moment. So I've got to be careful. Actually, somewhere along there, really, isn't it? I may get down a touch more. So, in fact, might just be the bottom of the range there. That looks okay to me. We've had this little bit of an overshoot here. which then created quite a sharp push up. Just got to be careful thinking about going lower here, thinking that we're in a downtrend, although we quite probably are. Yeah, that's why I'm at the moment I'm just trading it for what we are at the moment. It's quite congestion with a push up and a pullback, so I'm not thinking about going short necessarily. I'm just it's just congested. I mean, it's probably going to turn out that it is maybe a downtrend over, but I'd rather if it comes down here and then comes back up here again. Gives us a little bit more of an indication. He almost shorted that. Yeah, that's it certainly looks like. I mean, if we are in a downtrend, it wouldn't be a shocking place to go, would it? But it is a little bit congested there, and obviously it's congested along here. So, and it's right in the middle, isn't it? And they are both these here and here are respecting these middle lines, aren't they? They're kind of respecting them to a degree there, and same there a little bit, and obviously come down onto it in there. The body's closed and pushed up, so I'm just trying to think of the bigger picture. Sorry, I'm just not trying to think so much about the bigger picture, but what I'm seeing now, because I'm trying to sort of improve and limit my mistakes. And one of my mistakes is to jump into these bigger trends and think, okay, it's coming up here. Without sort of waiting for them to confirm, because at the moment we've had a downward bias here, but we've sort of gone sideways a lot. If you put the trouble is, if you put that in, it's very easy then to think, okay, we're going down. Now, what I will say is, it's very easy to think we're in a downtrend, and then you're looking for shorts around here. And like Jacko says, I think he probably shorted that, didn't he? Or it certainly didn't look a bad short. In a downtrend, but at the moment it's just hard to say. But I put that back just to see if it does use this. But if it pushes up to here, I'll take it off. But push, break, new high, new low, push up. Let's see if there's anything here we can use. That doesn't look too bad, actually, does it? I'd probably say it's slightly more maybe here. Works out all right, just to see what's happening. But if it does, yeah, I'd rather see. I don't like this big gap here, see. I'd have preferred that to come a little bit further if I was thinking downtrend, because at the moment it's acting like it's in a range by going, and it's finishing at the same point apart from this little breakout. See what happens. But it is stalling here, I'll give you that. It's stalling like, you know, we'll see. Excuse me. Yeah, at the moment it's pushing through this like we're in this range. So let's just, unless anything changes here, then it's going to. Yeah, to me that's working as a range at the moment. See what I mean? When you put that picture back, that looks nice, and we've come down along the bottom, we've gone up. A little bit of sideways, we've come down, bit of sideways, we've gone up. So it's definitely acting like we're in a range at the moment. That's for certain. And I've been guilty about trying to draw these downtrends. I'm not saying it's not going to. I mean, we could break out of it, but at the moment, it's just too early to make decisions about whether we're going up or down at the moment. I'm just trying to see it. Next Fed guy back to speak. Yeah. See, we've had this push up. You could call that a no issue, but I don't know. Is it likely to come up? It's hard to say that. But that's moving pretty quick, so it might be advisable, if they are talking, just to sit tight. Yeah, I'd probably class that as a bit of an overshoot to be on the safe side. Yeah, I'd rather say we've had a bit of an overshoot. I don't want to get involved in there. Keep those short-term trend channels. Noisy when it does that. Yeah, it's very easy to get stuck here. If you don't get these quite right, it's very easy to get trapped in the wrong way. See, do I really want to go short there? Not really. There's no proper setup anyway, really. I'd rather just sit and wait at the moment. If you play this right, you might get a setup. We end up something like this, trying to go once. If we push down and pop back up above this, looking bearish, then, there's opportunities. Now, if that pulls up a bit, drops down, call that a second entry, we'll see. There's a first entry anyway, but it's just looking a bit, not much room to these lows. That midline there does seem to be playing a bit of a part, doesn't it, in a lot of these and a lot of these as well. So, okay, that's effectively a new low. I wouldn't say it was a convincing low, but it did bounce on that midline, so it's very easy to get thinking we're going short there, and it ends up moving back up. I'm just trying to play it very carefully and not get suckered into something that doesn't look right. So as far as I'm concerned now, that has played out as unconvincing as it is. And there's probably a few people thinking, is that convincing enough low? Are we going lower or are we going back up? Hence, there's a little bit of sideways. There's a little bit of congestion there. I won't be shocked if that comes back in here. Yeah, it's just too choppy, that. Right in the middle of that range. Would you go up, down? If you thought you were going to go down, you just got triggered and you're probably going to get stopped out, but it is just showing all this sideways stuff. You may have gone short there, that triggered and you got stopped out. You may have gone long there, that triggered. You're in there now, but it looks like it may come down and stop you out. That's the trouble with when you get them sideways bits. It can suck you in a bit, and I've been guilty of getting in them. So you could call that. Let's have a look. First entry, yeah. You might have gone long there, you might have gone long there. You might have gone short there and got stopped out. There's loads of areas where you can get stuffed. Looks like it, mate, doesn't it? I'll tell you something, Jacko, when all this stuff clears up eventually, in 6 months, 12 months, we should all make a flipping fortune. If we can trade markets as frustrating as this, we should be golden in 12 months' time. We should all be living the life. Yeah, it's effectively a new low. You might have gone long there, who knows? But you're in now, you just don't know. Yeah, see if you'd have gone long there and taken the higher low. You'd have got stopped out. if you're going short there, you'd have got triggered and stopped out. The trouble is when you get these bits like that, it's confusing stuff. It's very easy, sucks you in from both ways. So there's that first leg down, and this to me looks like a second leg down, and it looks like it's finishing, ironically enough, right at the bottom there. So if you think these markets are often random, it just goes to show a lot of the time they're not. So whether that, I don't think that'll push out the bottom. I think it'll reverse quickly. But is it somewhere where I want to get in? It's hard to say. I think it's quite likely going to push up quite strongly there, but I'm just trying to give those up. It does look like same as here, the same as here, same as here. But I've just had some bad luck of them. I don't know. And the longer we sit sideways, the more they are. See, look. It's going to stop that out. It might not. That's why I've given up. I mean, we have hit that measured move right where that closes. So if you're in that trade, you may get lucky by the skin of your teeth. But I don't want to go through that, to be honest. That's unnecessary stress, that is. I think it's likely it's going to push up. Yeah. Okay, I think you're all right there. If you went long there, I'd certainly ride it up to here. Maybe not much higher. Certainly 2 legs down anyway, and it right to the nearest tick. It finished beautifully. So the trouble is, there's no real setup there, is there? Yeah, I'd have come out of there then. I just don't like the way it's starting to dip. It's starting to go like that, isn't it? And we've had this push in from this side. Sometimes you can go sideways and then push out in that direction. And like the mirror image of it. Downtrend is more proven than the range. Well, if you look at this straight away, this is clearly going sideways. Sideways at the top part of this. The top part of the, if you divide these two into, there's your middle line, which is bouncing off, and it's bouncing off here as well, yeah? And if you just count this bottom section and divide it into 2, it's sort of fitting both, isn't it? So you might be right, but the trouble is, if I'm thinking about, it can just lead you into a false sense of security. So just out of experience lately withdrawing these, it's very easy to get sucked in. And I think you're probably right. But you know, it's just, I don't know, it's just the way, and yeah, it is using this. It has used this a few times, but it's not coming down any further. It's still bouncing here and bouncing here. Now, you might call that a sort of downward wedge, and it you know, it may then push down, but at the moment, until it does start to move down into this section, it's risky, that's all. So we've all got to trade our own charts, haven't we? But you know, the more time you spend on here, the more time you cock up, the more things you learn. And I've learned lately to concentrate on my short-term trend channels and not get dragged into these bigger pictures too early, because it's easy to get messed up. So we've had this short-term trend channel, and we've had a break. We haven't had a new low. Then we've had 2 pushes up to the EMA. So it's just hard to say, isn't it? There's 2. Every time it's come back here, it's pushed up strong. So these 2 big green bars. So it's been rejected straight away off there. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to push past, but at the moment, for me, it's got to be a range at the moment. You know, but we all trade things slightly differently. Yeah. Like I just mentioned there, that sort of, this is flat and it's descending. But at the moment, I just want to be careful taking longs or shorts, really. See that? Possible second entry short. Let's see if this comes down. Possible second entry short to go lower. But I just can't bring myself into going short there when every time it's bounced off this and strongly pushed up. See what I mean? It's unpredictable at the moment, so I think to treat it as a downtrend and look for taking shorts at the ear, in my opinion, I think It is a little bit risky. So there is a possible second entry short there, isn't there? Let's see what happens, whether it does come down. I'm not saying you're wrong, but at the moment I'm treating it as a range and an unpredictable one at that. Yeah, it's a range with a downward bias, clearly. But we had that range with a downward bias, and then we pushed up quite strongly a few times, didn't we? But see what happens. See if this comes down into a bearish, and see if anybody take this. If this is coming down at the moment, I'd say in that case that would be a good place to go short. But let's see if it gives us the option. Doesn't look like it's ready to come down to me. See what happens. Yeah, as much as things do look like they're slowly. Hey, mate, how you doing? Arvin, long time no see. Yeah, as much as things do look like they're starting to dip, until we push past this and maybe come back and retest it and go lower, then I can't be thinking about going short just yet. Range with it. Yeah, it's a range with a downward bias, but if it's clearly a trend channel, then you know I'd have that down there. But at the moment, it's more sideways and downwards than sideways. I mean, it fits nice. It does. I just don't like the way it's respected at the moment, which we've got this sort of downward wedge. Is it going to break up? A lot of times it breaks up, then comes down. But we'll see. It's just a bit unpredictable at the moment. And if I put this there, you know, I might think, oh, well, let's go short here or let's go short. You know what I mean? And I'm going to get myself stuck. So I'd rather just play the safe game, the cowardly game, if you like. But at the moment, since we've come in here, we've gone sideways for quite a distance now. And every time we've come down here, apart from that once, we've bounced off this line and pushed back. So there, that's a new low. It's trying to go on. So there's a failure there. So that's triggered. Let's see if that pushes up there. I certainly wouldn't want to get into that to go long. But I wouldn't want to go short either at the moment. Let's see where this goes. No, it hasn't really, is it? It hasn't made a new low, really. It's flitting around that bottom. You know, if I had to say where I think it's going to go, I'd say it looks to me like it's going to go down. But there's that failure, which is, see what happens here. Fairly see what happens. It might come down and stop you out, but see what happens. Longs might be trapped. Yeah, it's one of those areas where it's easy to get trapped. I mentioned that here. You know, we've got people thinking we're going long, short. People think we're going long. So it's just a bit risky at the moment. And the more you fail at this game, the careful you become. Careful a word, is it? The stricter you become, I suppose. You know, I try, whenever I get these losers and I see patterns of issues in my trading, I try and learn from them. And I've noticed lately, I'm not drawing these enough. And people have mentioned it as well. Sometimes it's easy to see from other people's perspective. And I'm trying to, you know, whereas I'd have been jumping on this chart and trying to think, okay, so where does the downtrend fit? Thinking that we're moving down, and sometimes it got me into a losing trade yesterday. If I'd have drawn the shorter term trend channels yesterday on the sideways bit, I'd have quite likely evaded that loss yesterday. The cowardly game too. Yeah, it makes sense. I think the more times you get battered at this game, you inevitably are a little bit more cautious, and I think it's a good thing. And also it depends. If you're trading on a demo account, it's very easy to jump into a trade and go, I think it's going low, because there's no repercussions. But obviously when you got money on the line, you got to be a little bit more careful. That's the only downside to trading on a sim. It's very hard to make it realistic. All you can do is learn the strategies and that, but getting that feeling of trading, the only way you can really do that is to have risk. It just doesn't feel the same. I traded on a demo here the other day, and it was just one of the most relaxing trading days I've had in a long time. So it's very easy. See what I mean here? We're pushing back up strongly again. It's very easy to get stuck into something here or here, and, you know, all of a sudden it's not looking bullish now, is it? Now, having said that, it could be breaking out the top of this descending wedge. So that's a possibility. I did mention sometimes when we get these descending wedges, we'll have a push out and then it'll tank. But so it's hard to say at the moment. But for me, just the way it's sitting along that line, I can't include that section, which is a good chunk of the. It just looks a little bit dicey now, doesn't it? So I'm just trying to play safe at the moment. So I put that line as the open. But it's the mid line, isn't it? Stroke open. So let's leave it there anyway. But yeah, it may come and tank now. It's so hard to say, really. But I try and learn from my mistakes as best I can. Fits quite nice there. I'm going to leave that as a bit of an overshoot. I think that's the safest option. There. I've tried going off here. It doesn't quite work the same. So that fits quite nice up into there, doesn't it? And it has moved up quite sharply, which then would create that overshoot. So I think the safest bet is to say this one is made an overshoot. All of a sudden now, if you move that like that, it doesn't look bearish in the slightest now, does it? In fact, I'd say there's probably more green bars there than red. That's the trouble, really. It's easy to get sucked into this thing, but when you take it sideways to there, same again. Looks like a trading day. That looks like a perfect sideways day. The only bit that's making it look bearish is that small section there. But we pushed up and then we just recovered back to this line. So really, for me, taking that away, the last however many hours it is or whatever, where are we? Since literally 10:30 UK time this morning to what, 3:30. There's 5 hours. It's been going perfectly sideways in the top section, in the bottom section, top section, bottom. You know what I mean? So I don't think we can call that a downtrend at the moment. It's not even looking, now we've had this next push up, it's not even looking like a downward bias anymore. But I might be wrong. Yeah, I'm trying not to get smothered in the picture. My trouble is I'm constantly looking for things to fit when I should be just concentrating on the price action, and it is. And the price action at the moment is showing me we've got a small trend with an overshoot, you know, and we've had something similar. So there'd have been a time where I'd have been sitting here going, okay, well that fits okay. So let's say we do that, you know. And then when we come down here, I'm thinking about going along. So it's very easy. And I've done it a lot lately. Yeah, see, if you put that now, that doesn't look quite right now, does it? Before it started breaking above here and here. So that's what I mean. It's very easy to think, oh, yeah, let's go short here. Do you know what I mean? So it's just things I'm learning day by day. The good thing about with my work, the way I can fit my work in, because I work for an agency, it gives me the option to trade every day. So every time you lose something, you learn from it. You learn more from a loss than you do a winner, put it that way. I'm guilty of taking these now. Where it's sitting at the moment, I'd say it's likely it's going to come down, but we've had this overshoot, haven't we? But it's just hard to say. It's stalling a bit. It's a bit unpredictable. I mean, we came down there, didn't we? And we didn't even get a new, out of this trend, we didn't even get a new low. That was rejection, wasn't it? Rejection, and then off we went. So that's the trouble sometimes. You think if we were going to go bit bearish, I mean, that basically ended here, didn't it? And we had a push up back to the EMA, didn't even make a new low, and then, poof, look at that. Buyers straight off there. So there's more people thinking that that's a range by the way they're just buying there. Actually, there was a failure there, which wouldn't have been a bad trade. That's the trouble. If you're thinking downtrend, you'll miss out on trades like that Because if you're thinking we're only coming up to here, why would I go along there? That's the trouble, see. I didn't even miss that myself. Just trying to think where there might be shorts, because obviously failures work better if there's shorts trapped, but that didn't there, but who knows. Yeah, see, that would have worked, wouldn't it? What else did I miss? I'm quite happy missing them. Was it that one? Yeah. Or this one, I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely looking more range now, isn't it? you may even say it's got an upward bias now. That's the trouble. Things can change so quick, can't they? Yeah, see, yeah, up until say here, let's say we divide it here, I'd have said you're right, look like we're going down, but see what happens here. But then you get big rejection off here, which we more or less got there, to be fair. We had this overshoot, new high, big bearish bar, strongly down. See what happens here. But I'm trying to concentrate on my short-term trend channels, because if I don't, I get into a pickle. So yeah, that looks like two moves to me. There. Maybe not. Looks like two legs, doesn't it, of sorts. Could be that. You took that failure but got scared and took 1 point. That one there. The thing is with failures, they're nicer to take when you've got a possible short, because then you've got a second entry short there. So as that triggers and ends up with a bar like that, obviously if that was a big bearish bar down to here, good place to take a short there, because as soon as it breaks above there, depending, sometimes I might put my order above where the short stop will be. It's just a little extra precaution, but that's the thing, Jason, is it? Hindsight's a wonderful thing, look. But that'll come with experience. That will. I still miss things like that. If I got on a trade, a lot of times I'll get in a trade and I'll bring it down here, just to here and get out. And in most cases, when we're in a range, it comes right down. But it's just when you see some points available, you tend to panic a bit and go, "Oh, I've got 3 points there. Let's jump in." But I think, the ability to sit and hold on to those types of trades a bit longer will come with experience. But that gorilla guy yesterday got into a trade and made 32 points because he had the confidence that's what he does. He had the confidence to take the points. He tends to have a few extra losers, but his winners tend to produce better goods. But I've got to say, this is one of the relatively neatest channels I've seen for a while. If you look at these, everything's finishing here, apart from this little overshoot. Everything's finishing here, and if you look from there onwards, they're all finishing nice. Don't often get trade ranges lately that look as neat as that. If I was going to pick a top, that would have been it, and it would have worked. If I was going to pick a bottom, I'd say that would have been it. And it would have worked. I would have probably taken that, although it didn't trigger, but it would have worked. So when they're a little bit more, when they fit the mold a little bit better, you feel a bit safer. But because they've been so balmy lately, they've been finishing up here and then down here, then up here and down here. It's easy to get stuck, and that's what the issues I've had. So at the moment, I tend to leave them alone a bit. Just took a smaller short for micros. 7 points, good on you, mate. Yeah, it makes a difference what you trade as well. If you trade in micros, a little bit less stressful. If you're trading on a demo, no stress. Certainly more stressful trading a live account, although I'm on an Apex evaluation at the moment. So stressful, but not as stressful. So that failed secondary short 3 points. Yeah. Thinking about that. The trouble is, I, like some of you there, may have been thinking down, do I really want to get into a trade there? Because I did mention that these tops are starting to tip or dip, which then makes me get a little bit nervous there because it may come up here. But, I mean, it's a failure, isn't it? There's no shorts I could see that be trapped there, which would give it that momentum. But I think most traders are thinking range, perfect range at the moment. So that's given them the confidence to buy there and come out at the top, and that would have worked nice for them. If you'd have got in there, or even there, you'd have done all right there. You'd have got what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 points in a squeeze. You need one of them a day and you're laughing. Yeah, so you've had a break, but often they don't get back here when you get them this sharp. Obviously this one did, but in a lot of cases they just come out a little bit and carry on down. Took minimum of 3 points, yeah. Yeah, if looking back on that, it's so hard when you know what happened. But yeah, I don't think it was a bad trade, that. I think it was all right. I'm just a bit nervous about this, that's all. And just my trading lately has been a little bit, because it's been so tough lately, my trading's been a little bit, well, not as productive, should we say. So I'm just trying to be a little bit more careful. Now, if we, as we've had this break in a new high, if we'd have pushed down here and pulled back nicely there and had a nice red bar, I'd have taken that 100%. So I'm just waiting for those trades, and I'm happy just doing one a day. If I get two, great, but if I get 1, 3.5, 4 points, that'll do me, especially when it's, like this at the moment. Yeah, I mean, trading's about risk, isn't it? But it's calculated risk. There might not necessarily be a setup or a great setup, but if you believe the market's going to go back up, which it has done if you look at the pattern, then it's a calculated risk maybe to go lower, to go long, or even maybe jump in with a limit order. But I see another trade that gorilla guy did. He said they were stalling along the bottom, and it went out like this, and he took it about here and risked 4 points, and he got 15 because he thought 3 or 4 times it's bouncing here. That usually means then it'll give up, and it did. He just waited for it to pop out there, just jumped in here with a long, took a short risk, and off it went, 15 points. So it's sometimes it's a calculated risk. It might not be the best setup. But often you don't get a great setup, and it does rocket up. That'll come with experience. The more experience we get, the more we'll get confident with seeing patterns and knowing where things are likely to go. You're never going to be 100%, but obviously the more experience and the more time you spend sat in front of these screens watching this, this behavior, you'll start to be able to predict it a lot better. Yeah, I mean, based on what I can see there, I certainly have thought you'd have got 2 to 3 points there. I mean, even if you took it out of the top here, it certainly went for 3 points even on that green bar, didn't it, I think? About there, wasn't it? No, 2 points. Yeah, even if you're taking 2 points. I think as that one developed, that's when my arse will start to twitch. But your stop's down here, and it's still a fair bit, isn't it? So even, yeah, it's a calculated risk, isn't it? And looking at that now, I mean, I obviously know that's there, but I don't think it's a bad trade. I didn't even see it, to be honest with you. Sometimes it's hard to pick these channels until they develop a little bit. At the moment, it's a bit choppy with a little push up and a pullback, so it didn't really develop into that. Okay, so we've had a drop out at the bottom. We've had this channel. We've had a break. 2 pushes down. So is this going to bounce back in? Guaranteed if I take that, it'll fail. But it has come down to there. So let me see. See how it does develop. See if it ends up really bullish. And if it does, I might have a go at it. Right, that looks to me like 2 legs. See what happens. Got 1 leg, 2 legs. I'm nervous about taking a long there. I'm not going to leave it, actually. Let someone else have the fun. So that to me looks like 2 clear legs down. Let's say about here maybe, and about here. Something like that. One leg, sideways, two legs. But it's definitely stalling here. You're in a 17-point runner right now. Let's go. How come it happens to everybody else? So you went short here, did you? Yeah, good on you. I don't even think it backtracked, did it? Apart from a couple. If you kept your stop above there and then there and then there, wow. I'll be thinking about getting out soon, though, I would. Good for you, mate. Or at least bring your stop down to here or something. Now we've hit this second leg. I'd have me stop here, I would, and then keep it as tight as I can. May continue to go down, although I can't see it going down for much longer. I'd have me stop nice and tight now. And I'll be counting the money in my head. Right there. Let's see what we got down here. There is some resistance here from yesterday's, and we're right in the middle of it there. So I wouldn't expect it. I'd expect it to stall a bit and then either come down again or push up. I'd say basically after that measured move, I think it's more likely we're going to go up. I certainly wouldn't be thinking about taking a long here. Not that it's going to go up, but I just don't have much luck with that. I wouldn't be surprised if it ticks down again and then goes up. Even if you're out now, you've done really well there. It's nice when it just goes, isn't it? Because it doesn't always do that. So even if you'd have come out there, you'd have got 19 point, yeah, maybe you should have got 20 points out of that. Fair dues. Nice when it works, isn't it? Because you could have run that down bar by bar, maybe here, and left that there, thinking if it comes back up and ticks you, and then obviously took it down a bar at a time. It doesn't often work that way. Took it down one bar at a time. Even if you took it down to here and got stopped out, you'd have got 20 points there. Doesn't often do that, but when it does, it's nice. Yeah, it's stalling there like I thought there. Because of this, like there is some congestion there. Now, we don't tend to look back, but there'll be traders looking at that. Just leave my stop at every swing high, yeah. You'd have only needed to do it about twice there, wouldn't you? You'd have taken that straight down, stopped there, then moved it down to there. Then obviously as this had come, you'd have probably brought it down to here, thinking it's going to come out, and then every time it goes out, a bar finishes, drop it there, bar finishes, drop it there, and so on and so forth, right the way down to where you'd have probably got stopped out, so you'd have got 20 points there. Fantastic. That's where you wanted to accidentally hit the sell button twice, isn't it? Yeah. So let's see what happens now, whether we come back into this or whether we do make a downtrend. Now he's going to tell us he was on a demo. Were you on a, what you on? Are you on a PA account, lead and loser, are you? Are you on an evaluation or are you on a demo? Don't tell me that. Don't say you're on a demo, just make something up. Just say you're on a live account and you had 10 contracts on it. That'll make us all feel good. Well, let's see what happens now then. Incidentally, guys, I don't know whether you know, we had this new 80% offer available at the moment on any evaluation. There's a code there if you want to use it. Doesn't cost you anything more, but there's 80% off. I got an email early hours of the morning from Apex, and it's on until February the 14th, Valentine's Day. So make sure you save some money for some flowers and a card. Don't spend all your money on evaluations, will you? Otherwise, your life will be made miserable. And I get your flowers in early as well. They're going to be through the roof this year. This UK future site is pretty good for discussion. So what you're basically saying, you're either saying you really like listening to me talk, or you don't like listening to me talk, but you like chatting with everybody else. I'll take that. You like hearing me talk. You're the only one. I tend to put my wife to sleep sometimes. Can also draw a measured move from the AM highs now. That's played out at least, isn't it? Oh. Okay. Let's see if we make another leg down. See, as long as it doesn't pop back into this range, then now I'm feeling more bearish. I'd say that as a... But the trouble is, I don't think that will fit, will it? Oh, actually, that fits pretty nice now, yeah. See, before, that doesn't fit too bad. We were down here, weren't we? And obviously it wasn't fitting, but now we've had this drop out the bottom. But the trouble is, you usually do it to the first few swings, and that fitted okay, but now we've got this involved. This is where you've got to be careful. It does fit nice, but one push down, sideways, push down. Yeah, so it's only really touched twice at the moment. So would you buy that measured move? Would I buy it? No, I wouldn't. Not after we've had these two. See, we only trade with certain setups, really. So trouble is, sometimes they hit them, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they push straight through them. So I think you've got to judge the trade when you get down there, really. But at the moment, we are erring on the side of down, although we've had this range and we've broken out of it. Let's see what happens. See if we bounce off. If we bounce off this and continue down, then I'd say it's more likely a down. Well, it's a downtrend of some sort, isn't it? Let me just feather that a little bit so it's not as obvious. I just want to keep in mind that we have had a lot of this sideways and then we've had that 2 legs down. I like that. You'd have got in there, you'd have done really well. And I bet there'd have been quite a few traders who bought that. I didn't, because I specifically just trying to leave those alone. But if I would have got that, if I'd have got that, I'd have gone down candle at a time, and I think I'd have probably got the majority of that. I might have bottled it at the bottom here, but if you just got that little bit of confidence to give it a bit of room there and see if it will go, it can pay dividends sometimes, can't it? Yeah, see, we've had this short-term trend channel, well, whether you want to call it whatever. I'm certainly running it like that we've had a new low. Even if you open it up, it just doesn't fit right, does it? Let's have a look. Well, it doesn't fit that bad, actually. It's quite nice, but we haven't had a new low, so we may get a new low here. Got to be careful doing this, all right, Av, because I'm just keeping it in mind that we technically this short-term trend over there, but that does look like it fits quite well. But the trouble is, see, it may come back in the range. It doesn't look like it's going to, so there may be an option to go short here, but I think you've got to be careful and just keep it in mind that we have had this load of sideways stuff and we've broken out, so let's just have a good look and not do anything rash. That actually finishes quite nice, doesn't it? Yeah, so you could call that a small overshoot, but I'm not convinced. Does look okay, doesn't it? So we've had, yeah, you just got to be careful doing this. I'm just going to leave mine like that. I think the safer option is to just leave it there, although it probably is more of a. I just like to think we've had a break in a new low already, so I don't want to necessarily assume we're coming down because it may. There's your first entry. There's your second entry. Sorry, there's a failure there which has triggered. Although that was a little bit congested. So you just don't know what's going to happen here. We may go up. So far, we seem to be bouncing off the bottom of this trend, which often happens when you have a break out of it. You come back and retest it before you go lower. So I'd be a bit nervous if... Oh, well, there you go. If you take that failure, you'd have just got trapped. So... yeah, you're right, Brant. Sometimes you think you're going to have 2, 3 or 4 trades a day. A lot do, really. You only need 1 to 2. If you can get 2, great. But if you do wait for those better setups, you're going to have a higher win rate. Why have more trades and more riskier trades and more losses which mess with your brain? You might as well just sit and cherry pick them beauties and you'll have a lot less losses and obviously a lot less stress because losses can be stressful. I've got to say, I do tend to operate better when I've had 1 green trade. I don't think I've lost a trade after that when I've had started with a green. Okay, so we've had a new high here. See what happens here. But it's just finding that balance of being super careful, but not being afraid to pull the trigger when the opportunity comes. Because the trouble is, the opportunities seem to be very rare at the moment. Good setups, maybe 1 or 2 a day. I think Marco drew his chart. I think that's the first time I've never seen a trade on his chart. So he obviously finished before the news. But it is hard lately. And when they do come along, sometimes you're in disbelief that you've got one and you tend to question it. When let's change. Yes, I thought there we may push down a bit. We may do, but it's hard to say at the moment. I don't want to predict this whether we're not going to push because a lot of the times when we push in and go sideways, we push out. But there's our new high anyway, so that will be a lower high. But it is congested, isn't it? I'd say what I can see and what I can see is retesting the bottom of this range. I'd say we're likely if I had to put money on it, but I just don't really want to take a trade in here. Although it is looking like it's moving down, isn't it? But morning, mates. How you doing? 10 trades total from the start. How many of them have you won there, Arvin? Yeah, see, I tend to, lately it tends to be 1 to 2, I think, for me. Somewhere around there. If I can get 2, I think now if you can get 2 really good trades, I think you're doing okay, especially the way the markets are lately. Does look like a couple of small legs down there. I'd rather wait for the failure, I think. I'm not convinced with that. Daniel, where are you, my friend? Daniel's here somewhere. You want something from me? It's not often you ask me for something, is it? Daniel's just mentioned he's a buddy of mine that I've picked brains with. I got to say, Daniel, I will say that when you messaged me the other day after my meltdown, I felt more disgusted with myself that you've been watching of all times because I have. I'm a better trader than you saw. You saw me have a meltdown. I'm a better trader than that. I've just been having a bit of a rough patch, but I'll show you, mate, if you're looking. That one there, it is. I got it. It's free. You'll be glad to know. So it's called, surprisingly enough, bar size counter, and you get it from www.ticktech.com, and it's free. So ticktech.com, ticktech.com, and it's free. It's just called bar size counter, but it is useful. So there you go, my friend. I'm happy to help. Anything else you want from me, just let me know, mate. Just let me know. I've spent all these last 18 months picking your brains and asking for favours and info. So, yeah, it's useful, isn't it? I'm not sure why that all of a sudden has just jumped to there. Have I just done something? What have I just done? What have I just done? I've clicked on something, haven't I? I've done something. What have you made me do, Daniel? What did I do? Oh, it's popped back. It's back now, I think. Yeah, okay. Yeah, ticktech.com. I will message, just in case you're not watching now, I will message you. You've just messaged me. Just in case. I like to think you're watching and learning something. Just in case you're not. So I'm just messaging him. I think he's listening, but I think he's a bit shy. So look. Yeah, bar size counter. There you go. I messaged him. Yeah, I was more disappointed because he's helped me a lot, as Daniel, right from the very first time I started. He's helped me a lot, and when I found out he'd been watching me that day when I had the meltdown, I felt disgusted with myself, I've got to say. But I am a better trader than that. I have, it's been hard lately, and I did manage to get that PA account up to $7,500. So when I'm careful, I can trade better. It's just lately, a few things have been going on at home, and I just had a bad couple of days, and well, that, as they say, is that, you know the rest. Okay, so yeah, just there's nothing to take here, really, is it? I like to think it's coming down a bit, but who knows? I think if you look at these patterns, often when you get a push in from one side, it comes out the other side. But I'm getting the impression we're going down here just by what I'm looking at. It might be the fact that I've got this downtrend bias, but if it pops below there, because there may be some longs trapped there. That's the second entry long, although it's below the EMA, but there may be some longs there, because there's probably a lot of people still looking at this range thinking we've broken out of it, and they're shorting it. So if we can break below there, I'd say we're going to come down. If we can break below there, we may even get some more, but you just don't know at the moment. That's the trouble about these congested areas. They can just be a bit unpredictable. Does look like it's coming down, doesn't it? But I'd rather just let it and stay out of it. I'm quite happy. How long I've been trading? An hour and 20 minutes. I'm quite happy. I've not taken anything. I've not, apart from that one, but I'm just trying to stay out that one. Well, that was a trade of the week. That if you got them points out, you got a week's worth of money there. It is looking like it's coming down, isn't it? And I would say, based on this coming out here, there may even be some longs there. See if this has a little bit of a push, thinking that we're going to ride this back into the. Hard to say. We're there now. Actually, we've ticked below. Nothing's happened. So there is this measured move down here as well. So we may come down to here. We may come down the measured move. Yeah, it certainly looked like that was going to happen, but I couldn't really see any decent entries. Certainly safe entries there. So sometimes you just got to let these ride. You know, I know people that may have just taken a short up here just for the fun of it, and then put their stop here, and just maybe they'll get just a push of this little bit here. But yeah, there'll be some longs there, I dare say. I think it was a decent enough push down to say there were some longs there. There's a second entry long there. There's still going to be people thinking that this range is still there, and that sort of looks like two legs down, doesn't it, in the bullish bar around the bottom. That there's probably going to be some longs there that. But they would have got a few points out of them, so a lot of them would have been out of that trade. But it's looking very sideways now, isn't it? Yeah, it's looking quite congested at the moment. And it's using that midline, isn't it, again? Touched it here, landed on it here, closed here, closed here. Yeah, there have definitely been some longs there. There'd have been probably some in the failure there, but when that ticked below, it didn't do anything dramatic, did it? But if you're going to go long, it looks like a kind of a nice bar and a nice place to go long, but I don't think many did. Judging by we had that little tick below, and then we moved up again. But it's like a bit of an overshoot there, I'd say. Zoom in here a bit. May even be a few shorts trapped here. Actually, I don't like the way that we've had. It looks to me like we've had a little bit of an overshoot there, and certainly a double bottom, haven't we? To bounce off, and same here. It's just a bit unpredictable at the moment. I'm happy to get one trade today, but I want to make sure I get a good one. And if I don't see anything decent, I'm, also happy to go away as long as I know I've done my job. I've sat in and waited for something, and if nothing arises, I've done my job. It's just a bit unfortunate about that one. On another day, see, I'd have taken that one, and to be honest with you, I'd say that was probably the trade of the day. We've had that bit of an overshoot and a new high. That's probably the trade of the day. It's fitting lovely along there, and it doesn't often do that. So I'd say that's the trade of the day. Well, it's certainly the trade of the day in the fact that we've got two lovely legs down, and we've, twice we've had two tiny little swings, but the rest of them have just been bar by bar. So that was definitely hopefully a few people would have got into that. I'd say quite a lot by the way it's sold. But I can't see anything else which strikes as obvious. You may have taken that one. We've had that push up with a break new high, although it didn't tick above there. But if you're just looking what prices is doing to this midline, that would have been the best one to take. I just promised myself I'd leave picking tops. But in all fairness, the way that was finishing, it might have been worth a risk there, but no point in looking back. Nothing I can do about it now. Hans, drawing lessons. Well, part of drawing all this is to keep track of what things happening. So I can't see an area to go along there. You could have picked along. The trouble is, I've had some bad luck lately with picking bottoms. Now, to be honest with you, just the way this is coming down, this to me is a downtrend at the moment, working our way down. So it's okay to do this. Now, the issue I have with their picking that, we haven't made a new low yet, so we might tick up a bit and come down here. So it's hard to say, but that to me is not a decent bar. If you're going to go long, then I'd say there, but it's just too risky. We trade based on how we're getting on and how things are working, but it's just too risky just to jump in along there. Obviously, we've had a bounce now and we've gone up, but no one really knew we were going to do that. We could just backtrack a little bit and then go short again. So, but at the moment, things are looking bearish, and I'm trying not to get involved in longs, unless we get a nice channel or something like that, really. Yeah, we don't use the Fibonacci retracements in this system. We're trading a Max system, the price action trading system.com, so it's just something we don't use. Mac's been trading this system for the best part of 30 years, and it works effectively. It's just a tool. What we tend to do is just use minimal, what's the word I'm looking for? Minimal indicators. All we tend to do is indicator-wise is use this 21 exponential moving average, and then the rest are purely and simply measured move, trend channels, and range channels. That's more or less it. Take this short here, so how you trade, Hans, is I'd say it's probably slightly different than us, but everyone's got their own methods and their own ways, and you just have to follow your own strategies and your own rules. Just don't know there. See, the trouble is with that, it's right around that midline. If you look here, when we come back to the midline, we've bounced again. We've held under it, but then when we've broken above it, we've bounced off it. So, and it's only really a first entry, isn't it? So to me, it just doesn't jump out at me, and I'm not saying it's not going to work, and it obviously has, but it's just something I'm just trying to avoid doing, really, unless I can find a good setup. You just got to prove me wrong, Jacko. Thanks for that, mate. But no, it's a little bit of an overshoot. Could be an overshoot. It's just hard to tell at the moment. We may push up, we may come down a little bit to here and then push another leg up. So we could have had sort of two legs there. It's just unpredictable a little bit at the moment. Max got his from Al Brooks. Yeah, so Al Brooks basically trades the same thing. I think he does do more on the way the swing side, but I've not watched a huge amount of Al Brooks, but I don't know whether he uses the Fibonacci retracement tool, does he? I've used it before in trading currency, but not trading something like this. Trouble is, when the market moves that quick, you haven't always got that time. If you say this downtrend and you pull back 50% to here, so it's just something we don't use. We keep this simple and minimal amount of indicators. So, simplified crop version of Al. Yeah. But I suppose if he's done it for X amount of years and it works, I've got to say, when you look at the price action, and I know it's easy to look after the fact, but when you actually look back at the price action, it really does work. When you look back at the setups, the trouble is, we're on the spur of the moment here. We often see, would you go long there? It's bounced, dropped out a little bit, possibly, but for me, price is tipping now, so I wouldn't be shocked if that ticked above and then come out and stopped you out. But I'm still got me on this measured move, but it's so hard to say. It's risky. It's certainly 2 legs down, but it's just risky. And whenever I tend to get into them, I end up getting shafted. So for me, it's just safer to just leave it alone at the moment and just wait for a good setup. It is. I mean, it's so tempting just to jump in here now and maybe take a point or so risk and then just see what happens. But it's just hard to say. Yeah, we've had 2 clear legs down, but at the moment my arse will be twitching now. It's probably likely going to go up. But for me, we're in a downtrend at the moment. Fibs work very well. They probably do. Oh, yeah, on bigger time frames. Yeah, that's the trouble. We use a 2000 tick. I think it's equal to the 5 minutes. Yeah, I mean, EMA is facing down as well, and it's probably going to work, but it's just, it's just, I'm trying to leave these tops and bottoms. Let's have a look. So that would be from here, wouldn't it? Yeah, so it's a couple of ticks off a measured move, isn't it? It's just while things are looking like they're bearish, I'm trying to avoid going along because no, my luck, it go up to here and then come down again. So yeah, in all honesty, that is right in the middle of this. And I'm thinking down at the moment, and the short-term trend takes precedent over the trend unless it's a very neat trend, and that isn't. It's a downward bias at the moment, especially this section, so it's risky taking that, and that's where I've got caught out before. We've got a short-term trend channel, and that is right in it. I don't think you can call that a break. That's right in the bottom, and we sort of tend to, learn not to take those. Yeah, what time frame do you trade, Hans? I'm assuming you take a bigger time frame, don't you? I know when I've traded hourlies and 4 hourlies with currency, we've used them. We used to base a lot of our trades on that, on a 50% pullback. Yeah, it certainly looks like we are. Could say that's a bit of an overshoot there. It certainly looks like we're moving down. The trouble is I've got to be so careful about drawing these. And then I get into something and it doesn't work right. At the moment, we're ranging, but with a downward bias, but prices are being held. Same again, exactly the same as here. It's almost like we're having similar. We've had this sideways movement here, then we've had a couple of legs down and we're doing something similar. But it is certainly looking like it's dipping, but it was there. And then all of a sudden, boom, we went straight up. So 4 hourly, yeah, and Renko charts, yeah. So that's what I think they use with the sniper system with Apex, I think. They look a lot neater, these, aren't they? They look a lot less scary than these do. Yeah, see, the market's looking like it's tipping, but you just don't know whether it's going to spike up, do you? There is a second entry short there, but that's not decent enough for me. It's usually supposed to be the bottom third, isn't it? And although its prices are being held, it's just risky. So you could call that a failure. That's a second entry long off there, so that could be a failure. But the trouble is, you're going to be taking a failure right here, and if it does happen to tick or two and then bounce, you're shafted, aren't you? I'm not convinced we're dropping below, because when we did push out here, we strongly pushed back in, didn't we? So I'd say there's going to be some longs there, second entry longs. That's a second entry long there, and it's a failure, which is triggered. So if this breaks below here, I think that might give it the momentum to go lower. I think if it ticks below there, it'll come down quite quick, and there's probably going to be some shorts in there. I'm tempted to take that, but it's ticked below it. Not as dramatic as I thought it might be, which is why I'm tending to. It looks like it. I think I know what it's going to do, but I'm just staying away at the moment. There'll probably be some longs in there, but whether they'll stay in there, because we do look like we're going down, I think most longs that took that will probably take the profits around here, which is why then we had that bit of a bar. But it's just risky taking shorts there at the moment, especially when we're at the bottom of this range. See, if you'd have taken that short now, your arse would be twitching. I looked at it and I was tempted, because I thought if it breaks down below there, that's a failure and a second entry long. I'm not saying it's not going to come down, but it's congested as well. So I'm just trying to really be the good boy and play the game properly. Yeah, I mean, it might shoot down, it might rocket down, it possibly will, but unless it's just the way prices are being held, I don't want to go short right into the bottom of this. As much as I think it's coming down, but that will be an educated guess. I want to try and just stick with the proper trades and the strategy. You got to follow the trades and the strategy. If it doesn't stand up as a decent trade, you just got to let it go. As much as we know it's likely to come down, maybe in time, if I can get a nice big fat bank balance, I might let it backtrack a bit and then maybe take a short here. Just risk a small amount and see if it'll work. Super aggressive. Yeah. Well, I suppose the thing about Al Brooks, when you've been doing it as long as him, obviously he'll be way more in tune to the market and be way more experienced than us. So there probably are times where he deems it perfectly viable to be more aggressive. And just watching some of the Guerrilla guys' trades, he takes a little bit more aggressive, but what he'll do is if, let's say he takes a short up here that's slightly risky, he'll let it backtrack a bit and then just jump in here and maybe just risk a point. And then if it does happen to go down, happy days. It's certainly looking bearish, isn't it? Trouble is, it's easy to get sucked into this down stuff and then all of a sudden you get trapped. So that's why I try and look for just a good setup. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a quick 5-minute break, get a cup of tea. I'll be back with you in 5 minutes. Chat amongst yourselves, make some money. Okay. Well, it's still stalling. The trouble is sometimes these things can rocket up and trap loads of them. Trap loads of the short. Yeah, it's riding this bottom, isn't it? It's hard to say what it's going to do. Maybe some shorts in there, maybe here, maybe here. Sometimes this thing can pop and take out a load of shorts, can't it? We've made that measured move as well. So it's just, I wouldn't want to short here, to be fair. Yeah, we're right down the bottom of this thing, aren't we? Let's get rid of that for a minute. Okay. Yeah, so we've made that measured move. Someone mentioned earlier, would you buy that? I wouldn't have bought it up here. I think sometimes these can rocket up and just eat a load of stops because there's probably going to be people shorts in here. That's the trouble of these. Closest gets to the bottom, the less keen I would be in taking trades. This sort of looks like a bit of a bottoming pattern as well, doesn't it? See what happens here. See if this does push. If it does push up, it could eat some of these stops and get a good push up, maybe to the midline or something. Or it's hard to say. I certainly wouldn't want to be short in here at the moment. Possibly some shorts in there. Maybe here. See if it does pop up. If it does go much higher, I think it can go quite quick. Certainly won't want to be looking for a short here. I don't think I'll be looking for a long either at the moment. Could be a break and a low, but it doesn't look like it to me. If it goes much higher, it'll start eating some of these stops. Yeah, it sort of exhausted itself there, didn't it? We made that measured move and the bottom of this trend channel at the same time, and when we had that other bounce and that on the bottom, that looked like it was about to turn to me. If we have this break, will I want to go high? Hard to say, innit? Is this a pullback or is it? It's not come back enough for me, but I wouldn't be shocked if it does go higher. So I remember Marco said to me, these take precedence if it's not a strong trending channel, and at the moment it's not really. It's a bit sideways, and that I wouldn't call this a strong trending channel. So if we get a pullback to here, I'd say it's probably. I think it's safe to take this rather than think it's a break and a new low, but it's just hard to say at the moment because we have just come out of this sidewaysy stuff, haven't we? So it's just going to remove that in a minute. It's confusing me a bit. I don't think I'll be happy taking that one. I'd prefer it to come back closer, really, but we usually have a break and a new high, but trouble is we might have a break, might tick a tiny bit higher and then come down, so you can count that, can't you? You could say that's the first entry, second entry. See, if you draw a bigger channel here, let's just get rid of some of these. It actually fits in there, so that's why I think you've got to be careful as well. You know, it fits quite all right, actually, doesn't it? Touches nice there, touches nice there, finishes nice there, and the bottoms finishes lovely. Nice and tight at the bottoms. That's why I'd be a bit, yeah, you got to be careful going along there, I think. Not that there's an offer anyway, but yeah, that would make sense. That slightly bigger channel seems to be working better to me. Yeah, fits nice along there. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be going along now. Although we've had a channel, I did think maybe if it broke above there, it might push out, but then we got this bigger channel working down, haven't we? Yeah, they do often repeat, don't they? Channels, the way they work. That's why I think experience makes a bit of a difference. That's why the Max and the Albrooks of the world can take these things a bit riskier because they can see, notice these things. What's happening here? Would you take that as a triple test? It's hard to say, isn't it? Just from what I can see here, you can't go long here. That'd be a big mistake. But you just don't know what people are thinking, do you? We are getting some strong selling here. This might be where it tanks out the bottom. And hasn't it just there? So we've had a break. Would you call that a break? No, not a convincing one. No, I wouldn't call that a break. That's sitting more or less within there. Yeah. See, we're here where we had that news yesterday. It was about here, wasn't it? We had that spike up, then we sort of got it all back. And then we've had this big push up, another push up, and we seem to be making it most of it back to more or less where we started. Oh, Ooh. Bitcoin's had a good pullback. Oh, I've got a long position in Bitcoin now. Let me have a look. Flipping hell, Bitcoin's tanking. Let's have a look. Where did I get in? Uh, 22.7. Hold on a minute. Let's delete that quick. Wow. Yeah, Bitcoin just tanked. Well, say tanked. That might be why this. What's going on at the moment? Anything happened at the moment? Any news? Yeah, it's quite quickly lost 18 points, that has. Don't know what happened, what's happening anywhere else, but I know Bitcoin's just dropped quickly. Just dropped about $600 really quickly. Okay, sorry about that. I was just sorting out my I got a trade in Bitcoin. Measured move, close right there. So, will I go long here? No. Let's have a look. What's going on here? Let's just get rid of these now. Okay, so we figure out what's going on here. Yeah, it was fitting really nice there, wasn't it? There again, once, twice, only twice here, but I think it's good enough to say that's it's working within those parameters, isn't it? It was a lot of sideways there, and then we had a push down, then a bit more sideways, then another couple of legs down. It's just sit and wait in time. There's not really much you can do at the minute. Short to the trench, I went a break, new low, bounced around a little bit, pushed up a couple of legs. Buy the new Bitcoin XRP. Oh, it's a new Bitcoin XRP. I just into the long position. Bitcoin dropped 22,700 or something. And I'm up already. I stuck about 50 quid in just into Bybit, and I've just been playing around and I've got it up to a few hundred. I tend to follow that guy who's the guru guy. The guy lives in where does he live? Forget his name. Lives in Dubai. Australian guy, I think. Well, it's New Zealand, I think he's originally from. Yeah. He posts a lot of his trades, and I take a few of them as well, actually. They work quite well. Yeah, Jacko, it has been for a while, isn't it? A couple of years, I think. Because I think XRP was deemed to be above Ethereum, wasn't it, originally? But obviously then they got into this court thing. And it's been stalled ever since, I think. Let's have a look. 2 legs up to the EMA. Would I go short here? It's hard to say. I'm certainly getting that feeling, but I don't know. It's just I want to wait for something obvious. Incidentally, if no one knows, most of you might do now, we have got another 80% off any Apex evaluation at the moment. I've got a code here if you use it. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but I get a little kickback from it if you do use it. So it's there if you do so request it or do so desire. And it's on for, I believe, a week. Finishes on Valentine's Day. Are we likely to get another push down? Possibly. It often does this, doesn't it? It's hard to say. We could come back in here. We could test the bottom of it. It's just hard to say at the moment. It's a little bit unpredictable. Starting to feel there won't be anything obvious today. Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it? But sometimes when you think you're running out of time, something pops up. I mean, on days like this, if I can get one, I'm quite happy with that. My trades tend to be around about the 1-to-1, so around about the 3.5 points. So if I can get $350 a day out of one good trade, it's a decent amount of money in a week, and over a month, and then you times that by multiple accounts if you can get to that stage, and it all starts to mount up. Maybe come back up to lunch. Yeah, I'm quite glad I came back up yesterday. I got a 6 point. I got 6 points on a trade, which got me out of the shit and got me a few $100s up. So that might be the option, actually, to trade a bit later on FOMC days. Because the days, I mean, well, most of you were here yesterday, and all it was doing is doing a lot of sideways stuff, wasn't it? There wasn't a lot of entries. And the trouble is, the longer you sit there through that, the more your patience will naturally dwindle. It's very easy to get suckered into a poor trade. Whereas sometimes you're better off waiting for the news, letting it do its stuff for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, let it settle down, and then when it moves into a nice trend like it did yesterday, wait for an option. So usually you fade from the way of the trend. So the trend at the moment is down, so you would fade from here, wouldn't you? But it's just too risky, all that, really. That's the trouble, Bram. When you start to feel like that and an opportunity arrives, you're sort of in disbelief for a few seconds, aren't you? You can't believe. I mean, sometimes just out of the blue, you'll get a really beauty. And it's like, am I really seeing this? Trouble is, when they are few and far between, can question yourself sometimes. Am I missing something? This doesn't seem right. Why am I getting a good setup? Just trying to think. Okay, so we did push back in here. So we're going to continue down. It's just hard to say at the moment. It could come up here and then drop lower. It could come back up. It's just hard to say. But we had this push down. You could say that it's two tests. Maybe if you get a triple test here, then it may push lower. It's hard to say. But, I don't understand these situations enough to be able to comfortably get into them, so I'm just going to sort of sit and wait. The bias is downwards. I think we can all agree there. But these areas, you can just get so unlucky. It's easy to get trapped into these things. So there is a second entry short there, but that is just risky. It's just risky. I mean, even if you want to count this as one trend, we've had a break in a new low, so it's just risky. As much as bearish as we are, it's just risky, that is. Okay, sorry. Just looking, just to check, and we got some medium news, but that's in an hour and 20 minutes. I'm not really concerned with that. Now, would I fade from here? Well, they say fade into the range in the direction the market's going. At the moment, we're going down. So if we push out here, would I fade into here? It's hard to say at the moment. I'm just trying to wait for that one nice second entry or failure, a bit more obvious. Trouble is, when you get days like this and not a lot of setups, it's easy to get sucked into a trade there, thinking, "Oh, I'll go second entry short," and it triggers you and pops off. Because it is just congested and unpredictable at the moment, and when it's like this, you're most vulnerable, really. It's had quite a strong push down. See, we've had a reasonable downtrend most of the day. We've had this quick drop now. Can we go lower? Absolutely, but people are going to be thinking, we had this, surely we've got to go back up. Am I comfortable going short? That's why most people might be it's gone a bit stale here because people are unsure, traders are unsure, are we going up or are we going down? So it's so easy when you're in an area like this, it's sort of 50-50 really, or, we like to think that slightly chances are we're going to go down, but we've had such a strong push out the bottom. This, who knows, are we going to push back up? No entry to go short there anyway. Second entry short. It was a bit naff on mine, that was. It's more of a doji on mine, seeing it's above the EMA, so you just don't know, do you? We may have... just don't know, do you? Trouble is, sometimes when you think it can't go lower, it just rockets. See, trouble is, might be a slightly bigger range. Yeah. Trouble is, you can have a little gamble there, couldn't you? That's when, I suppose, experience takes over there. Maybe wait for a tiny little bit of a tug back. What's that? So it's 2. So 0.75. So tick above, tick below is 2.25. You could have come back there and risked less than a point if you think. Because obviously, you can see we've pushed down, and at the tops of these, it's bouncing straight off. So you may have seen that and come back a little bit and thought, I'll jump in here and risk a point, 0.75 of a point. And the good thing is, if you're getting up here, you've got, what, six points down there. So sometimes, if you think it's going to go down, then you might let it pull back a bit and then maybe just take a very small risk. Because sometimes it can really pay off. If you had just jumped in there somewhere around about here and got out at the bottoms, then you'd have made it's worth it. It would have been worth it. Because it is, it's looking down, isn't it? I think we can all agree there. And when it's bouncing up, it's a matter of time, I think, before it does come down a bit more. So it's a personal thing, and some people don't mind a little bit of a, an educated guess on it and see what happens. Other people play it by the book. Yeah, we seem to get a lot of this, Jacko. Push down, congestion, push down, congestion, push up, congestion. Push down, congestion, another push down, more congestion, push up, push down, more congestion, push down, more congestion. Bit more on the way down, another push down, more. It's doing a lot of this lately, isn't it? We get a bit of a push, and people are like, okay, so what are we doing now, There's definitely uncertainty in the market. That's clear, because we get a lot more of these areas where people are thinking, well, we're going long, maybe we aren't, maybe we are, There's a lot of mixed feelings, isn't there? People aren't confident at the moment. So that adds a lot of doubt, and when you get doubt, we tend to get a lot of this sideways stuff. See that? What's it takes a lot of slightly risky ones. The gorilla guy. That's the type of thing I've seen him trade, and he'll maybe just risk a point, because a point's not massive risk. A lot of cases, I mean, if you look at the ATR at the moment, you've got 3-point risk on average with your tick above. So if you're risking a point, it's a small risk to think, well, look what's happened once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. What's likely to happen? Well, law of averages say once it's tried so many times, traders are going to give up, and we're thinking down. So who knows? It may have been worth a small risk there. It certainly paid off on that time. Yeah, I mean, a few years down the line, if I had maybe, I don't know, $20,000 in that account, maybe a contract or two, it might be worth a small risk. When you've got money, you can afford to do it, and you can take small risks, and if they pay off, they pay off. I'd say once you get a bit more experience in this, they're slightly risky trades, and if you maybe getting 1 to 3 or 1 to 4, would certainly be worth it. I mean, if you had to bet money, was that going to go down from there? You'd have to say, yeah, wouldn't you? So if more people are thinking short, markets do that, because this is just human behaviour. So places like that, especially when we get a bit of a backtrack, might be worth just a risk. Yeah, see, we've had a break and a new low there. And what's happened? Bit of a push up. I don't know if it'll go much higher, but it's just unpredictable at the moment. Not so bad if you're scalping a point every time, then, you know. Entry long, yeah. See, I wouldn't be comfortable about going long here. EMA's facing down. That's strong push down, but then it's gone a bit sideways here, isn't it? So you just guaranteed whenever you don't do anything, it works beautifully. The second we jump in, you get shafted, don't you? Like 401k is invested. You got 400 grand invested. I don't believe you. Have you? Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth, oh son. I wish I had 4 grand invested, 400 grand in there. Oh yeah, I've got some. I've got half my pension in there. I've got about 30 odd grand in there, something like that. Half of it. The other half in multiple other bits and pieces. That's going to be something for quite a few years to come yet. The 15 years. Oh, retirement, yeah. How old are you then? About 90? I don't know what pension you got, but it's paying a lot more than mine. That's not a bad pension pot, that. Yeah. I got you, yeah. Now, I think I've got a total of about 70,000 my pension. A lot, well, £70,000, that is. That's probably about 82 grand, 82,000, something like that. Okay, so you could call that a failure, couldn't you? Technically, I suppose, but would you go short here? I don't think it'd be a bad place to go short, would it? But trouble is, sometimes when these look good, you take something random up here and it'll tank. You take something a bit risky because of the congestion, and up it goes. You take what looks like not a bad trade, and look what happens. You'd be twitching there, wouldn't you? So if you're going to push up to here, would I take a short here? Trust me, whenever I take a short, if ever I decide to take a short here, just don't copy me, whatever you do, because my record will go short. Yeah, it's just too risky, isn't it? I mean, you'd have got maybe a couple of points, wouldn't you? But it's not a comfy looking trade, is it? If you're going to trade, I'd rather short than long, I think, although it seems to be fitting just as nicely, doesn't it? So there's a lower high there, but I wouldn't be thinking about that. That's the trouble, is you can get these double traps sometimes. You'll take this short, it will trigger, stop you out. When it does it, it'll trigger that lower high, and I'll come up here, stop that out, trigger the lower high, and then come down and stop that one out. You can get a lot of these double traps, can't you? Yeah, they are, Drew. Yeah. And the trouble is, the longer these things stay in, the more unpredictable they become. Yeah, see, if you're in there, if you've taken that as a higher low or lower high, you've just been triggered. That short hasn't been stopped out yet. I won't be surprised if that stops this one out and that comes down and stops this one out. Yeah, it's going perfectly sideways, right on that midline, isn't it? You don't want to get involved in any of that, really, do you? Yeah, you got more chance of just closing your eyes at it and buy or sell, haven't you? Oh, okay, so I'm guessing There was some shorts there, the way that popped. And possibly some longs here. I'd say it certainly hit some shorts by the way that quickly popped up. It is looking like a place to go short, isn't it? I did mention that, and I don't know if you wouldn't have taken your points, and you'd have got stuck through this, and as soon as I let you stop, quick pop up. Would you short here? I wouldn't at the moment, although it's likely going to come down, because every time it goes up and touches, look, it comes down, doesn't it? But every time I get involved in one, and it might just come down to here, I want something that I'm going to get a half-decent run at least get a few points. It's just risky. Although I'm tempted, but I'm not going to. In fact, I had a good day yesterday, so maybe I will. Let's have a go. Let's have a go at one. It has topped every time there. We've had a push-up, little bit sideways, another push-up. See what happens. I had a good day yesterday, so I'm up on me count. Let's see if we can get even a couple of points out of it. Might not even trigger. But if you're lucky, every time it's touched this, it's come back down. I'd say it's certainly on the air of biased, and there is a failure there which is triggered. So if it does come down, actually, I'm going to leave it. No, I'm going to leave it. And in fact, no. Let's stick it in. It's not massive risk, is it? Let's bring that down to there. And let's see if we can maybe get a couple of points or something. We can push below. If we can get below here. What's this? 6.8. See if we can get a couple of points. If we go by what's happened here, we may get something. In fact, I'm just thinking, I might just put that down there, because if it pops down there, it might take out some longs, but I'm going to keep this tight. If it pops lower, it'll take out them stops. So I'm going to take that there. Let's take that a touch more. Okay, so wasn't as much as I was expecting. I thought, okay, $100. Oh well. Okay, I could probably got a bit more there. I thought that was a little bit more actually. I should have probably let it sit there just to break there. Okay, got $100. Better than a kick in the teeth. So what would it have got to there? 2 points. I could probably squeeze 2 points. Maybe I don't know. You shorted it. Well, to be honest with you, it's certainly looking bearish to me, if anything. So every time we come back here at the moment, we're coming down. It's, you know, I know Max says when these range days, short the tops and buy the bottoms. It's easier said than done sometimes, but when they're fitting as neatly as that, then I don't think it's a bad choice. Did I get much out of it? I got $100 out of it, so it's better than it. You know, it all counts, doesn't it? So I'm quite glad I got out there actually, because my arse would be shaking like a good one. Am I going to buy another one? I considered it, but as long as I pass this one, then I'll get one. Maybe on the last day, I'll get one more. But the trouble is, I had just a bit of bad luck with bad experience with the trade copier. So, and that messed with my head a little bit. I was getting frustrated with it, and I think it sort of overcome. It got in my head a bit and messed with it a bit. So I might get one more. I don't know. I might just stick with the one for now and just concentrate on building that one. And then when I get, you know, if I can withdraw some money, then I'll probably invest a little bit more back in. But just the way things have been lately with my confidence with the trade copier, I'd rather just focus on the one, and then we'll see how we get on. But yeah, I made a calculated decision now. I think it was okay to take it's certainly, when I say picking tops and bottoms lately, these sort of range areas have been just unpredictable. They've been tucking. But if you don't count that one, two, three, four, that's the fifth time that's touched in the same place. And it's one tick off ended on its low. And we've had this push up. To me, that's sort of like two legs. So if you look at that, that's sort of like two legs. Is one push up, a little bit of sideways, and another push up. So I don't think it's about. I wasn't greedy. I just wanted to try and get down. I'd have preferred to get 2 points, but I'm happy with $100. It all counts, doesn't it? It's all experience, is it? To give me a little bit more confidence in taking them when they're as neat as that. You shorted it, but I felt it was about to pop the range. Yeah, that's why once I got down so much, I'd rather drop me stop in there and just see how we get on. The trade copy needs work. Yeah, it does, Joel. You're not wrong, mate. I mean, Jacko, some people have said get Replicanto, but I got into a chat. I went onto the Flowbot's website, and there was some comments. And somebody said you can still have issues with trades not triggering you. So I'm quite glad I got out of that, because if I'd have stayed in, but I think it was good to get down to here anyway. And somebody mentioned in a comment that it might be worth fading this. Do you think? I don't know. Somebody mentioned in a comment that it can still misfire or not pick up trades. I think a lot of it, Dan, is just purely the speed of the market. We're not just trading one account here. We're trading multiple accounts have got to be triggered. And if the market's working that quick, in a fraction of a second, I looked somewhere that 40th of a millisecond it can take for one of these trades. So the trouble is, because we've got software saying copy that, copy that, copy that, if it all doesn't work, in one big fluid movement, I think we can get problems. So I'm not convinced that the flow, I'm not convinced that the Replicanto one is better. If somebody tells me categorically they spent 6 months on the one and 6 months on the other, I can tell you, then I'll tend to believe them. But I just don't want to throw another $150 away on something that may be better. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just going to focus on the one. I'll get this up to passing level and focus on the one. And when I can get some money in there and build it up and I feel a bit more comfortable, then what I might do is get another couple of evaluations and just trade one contract each on them, so it's a little bit less risk. And I'll take it from there. But I just want my focus to be on this one account. I've managed to build it up to about $7,500, and I took a payment. So I can do it. I just need all my concentration focusing on that one account. Once things went wrong a couple of weeks ago, it started just to get me a bit down. And if you can get slippage on a single contract. Yeah. So I'm not convinced the Replicanto one is better. I would say it's more likely to have more support and maybe a bit more work gone into it. But from what I can gather, the issue with not the software used, more how quick the markets work. And there, I think, lies the problem. But the trouble is, I did try and use them with two sims just to get used to them. But apparently, I was told that they'd heard this straight from the horse's mouth from Daryl, that if you use a sim as the lead account, it only works if you have the other accounts following as micros, MES. It doesn't work, so I'm not quite sure why, but unfortunately then I stopped using it because it just wasn't giving me the correct readout. So I'm just going to sit tight for now. You always watch the positions. Yeah, which is why, mate, you noticed I put these on here. I put one on positions and one on orders. So what I'm going to try and do is when I'm in a trade, I messed around earlier, actually. I had the demo on and I was clicking buy and sell on the demo, and I was just watching these and getting used to glance. The trouble is, if you're looking at a trade and, you're engrossed in what it's doing, and rightly so, and sometimes you're that tunnel vision on what it's doing, you forget to look. So what I may actually do at some point is when I'm trading, just sort of drag one over. You know what I mean? So if I'm in a trade here, I can sort of, so that might be an option at some point. But I'm just trying to get into the habit of having a glance at that as part of my routine. Because, the plan is to get one account up and running and then obviously add to them, because that's where you can increase your profits dramatically. People have earned hundreds of thousands of dollars per month out of Apex, and I genuinely believe they have. So the opportunities to earn some serious money are there, but I believe the safest bet, certainly for me, is just to trade one account, build that up. If I can get that up to maybe over $10,000 and take a bit of money, I'll have a cushion then. If I start losing money at $4,000 or $5,000, it just gets a little bit stressful. So okay, it's a bit unusual, that is. A lot of people call that a cup and saucer, don't they? But I don't know. I'm not a massive believer in those on smaller time frames. It certainly looks like it, doesn't it? Been using it for long. Yeah, that's the trouble, Jacko, isn't it? If you've not used it a long time, but I'd love to have a conversation with someone who's used both. And when I say used both, spent 3 months or 6 months trading the Apex copier, had a go at Replicanto and said, yeah, categorically one is better than the other. I would certainly say I would have thought there would be more support and more updates with the Replicanto one, because they specifically deal in software, whereas Apex is primarily a prop firm, and they just use that as a tool because they do say they don't support it. So I think if you're going to buy software, it's like buying a washing machine, isn't it, without a warranty? And, when something goes wrong, you phone up and they go, well, sorry, mate, we don't support it. It's, you're just going to have to get on with it. So, but if I had the chance to do it again, I think I would purchase the Replicanto, just purely and simply because they're a software firm, and I think the support system would be more adequate. But it may absolutely be not down to that. It might purely and simply be down to the speed of the markets. I'd say it's likely it is. So there you go. Triple test. That one there. Is that what you mean? I'm kind of glad I took that because it looked okay, and green's green, isn't it? But it's gone very slow, isn't it? There is some news, some medium impact news in about an hour, a fraction under an hour. Got the FOC member, is it Waller speaking. Yeah, I'm not sure what it's doing here. It's a little bit unsure. Are we coming back down, or are we going to come back down, bounce off here and come back in the range? So hard to say at the moment. That was a good trade. Yeah, I don't think it was a bad trade, was it? There wasn't a huge amount of profit in it, but that's not what it's all about, really, is it? I mean, for me, I'm thinking down, so I've got the bearish, so I'll certainly be more comfortable shorting than going long. Having said that, it's fitted just as nice as it's fitted at the top. So once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. That's the 5th time it's ticked there and come back down, and it did it with the bearish bar one tick off its low. So my only issue was, like the other day, I was coming down into a bit of congestion here. But for me, we'd had one push up, bit of sideways, another push up. So that, to me, was just an outcome of that push up. So push up a little bit sideways, push up again. So that move to me was finished. So I was quite happy to. I don't know what you would have got out of that. You'd have probably got 2 points, I'd say. Yeah, you'd have got 2 3/4 points out of that. I'm assuming most people would have probably come out around about the 2 points. But yeah, the trouble is, I thought there may be some longs here or here, so I probably held on a little bit longer. But you know, sometimes it works. So we've pushed out and we've had strong rejection. So it might have just tried to break out and strongly come back in. So now we may move a bit low. It's hard to say. I'm quite happy doing what I'm doing, sitting plodding along. $100 is $100. It may have turned into 200. It may have turned into a bit more, but I'm just trying to focus on these short-term trend channels because they do help you out the shit. Okay, trying to count once. I feel comfortable short in here. Probably not. I don't know. To me, that is a bit of a break in a new low. It might not be convincing, and if you adjust this chart a bit to fit in maybe this bar here, then it might not look that bad. But Mahala, how you doing? Yeah, it is. It's even in these short-term trend channels. Look, it's fitting nice on top, and then it comes down and bounces off, then it comes up and bounces off, then it comes down and bounces off, and it sits right in the middle there and comes down and bounces off. So it's giving us patterns, isn't it, to try and it's giving us clues, isn't it? So there's a second entry long there. I certainly wouldn't take the long. Would I go short there? No. I've got something, so I'm quite happy with green. Green's green, isn't it? So I don't want to take something stupid. Yeah, see if you've still been in that trade. You may have picked that. But that's moved up there relatively rapidly. So there will have been some traders who've taken that trade, and rightly so. It wasn't a bad trade, and they probably sat in there just a little bit too long. Once you get round here, you're leaving your stop there and just relying on a bit of luck, and unfortunately it went up and busted through there, which caused that little bit of a quick movement. But then as soon as those stops were eaten, the buyers took the profits, and people are thinking, we're thinking down anyway, so it was likely it was going to come down here, but I thought it might bounce and come down a bit more, but yeah. I can sit back now and look at it. I did mention about picking tops and bottoms, but the types of tops and bottoms I was thinking about were, you know what ranges have been like lately. You know, they'll stop here, the next one will be up here, then there'll be one here, then there'll be one up here, then there'll be one down here. Those are the ones I'm trying to stop. But when we have a nice fit, and to be fair, no one can argue it didn't fit the bottom. We got once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5. So it's literally finished on the body there. That finished on its close. So there's 3 times there, 5 times on the bottom nicely, and the same as the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 again. We had that tiny push up, didn't we? And then it strongly came down. So I'm thinking bearish at the moment. So that's a failure, that is. But there's a short-term trend channel there, which is, yeah, I certainly don't want to be going short here. So I'd say that's probably a break in a new low. But I tend to have a bit more luck when I follow these. Probably not the most obvious of things, is it? It might be. Not really, but... Oh, fuck. Excuse me. Okay, we know what's happened anyway, don't we? Might be a new low. You've got to treat that as a break in a new low. Yeah, you don't really want to be going short here because if you'd have gone short, I mean, it wasn't the best candle, but if you'd gone short there, you'd have been triggered and your arse would be flapping like a good one now, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'd say let's highly likely it's going to break above here. And that'd be a shame there. Try to go low once, try to go low. Sorry, trying to go high once. So we've got this new high, breaking a new high, trying to go once, trying to go twice, failure, which is triggered, and it looks like you might get lucky, but to me, the way they're going up, I'd say they're likely going to stop that out. But it wasn't the best, it's not the best signal bar, and it wasn't ideal going short there. Although we had broken up and we bounced, so we could do, but if you had done, you'd have got stopped out there. So this is a possible second entry short. Do I want to be going short? I don't want to be doing anything at the moment. You're thinking bullish. Yeah, well, it's to be fair, it's gone from looking nice and bearish to just I'm not sure now. So, I'm learning that my patience pay off. When I'm patient, I can sit through a lot of all this crap, this load of shite, this load of shitey shat, and this, and then when we get a decent one, then I can take a point or two. Not a massive one, but it's green, isn't it? But there is a lot of crap on there, isn't there? And then when you think, oh, look, we've had a breakout now, we're coming back in. We've had a little bit of a poke up. There we go. Let's have a short there. And what happens? Triggers you. Shits in you. But I think the good thing is, if you're coming into this business now and you're trading through this lot, when things eventually do start to stabilise sometime in the next 20 years, then it's going to be, if your introduction to scalping on Pats is this, then you're only going to find it. You're still on it, are you? I hope you get pushed right up, mate. I do. Where did you go there, did you? I went long. Oh, after my trade. Oh, so you went long here. Okay. No, you didn't come back all this lot, did you? If you sat through that, mate, you got balls of steel. if you took that trade and you sat through that and all this came back, I bet your ass was shaking. I bet your knees were knocking. Yeah, I'd say it's slowing down. You just don't know. It might push up higher, but I'd certainly get me stopped quite high, I would. Hidden second entry long. That one there then, yeah? Let's have a look. There. Yeah, that's a hidden second entry long. So, I sat for that pullback. Man, you got nerves of steel, mate. You must be smoking something to sit through that lot. So where are you up to now? So even if you're up to there, so you've got 6 points there straight away. If you're on a demo, mate, I'd let it get up to there. If you're on a PA account, I'd take it now. If you're on an Apex account, evaluation, take it up here. But yeah. And if you're smoking something really big, then you might want to just keep on taking it up, see what happens. Let it fly high. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't have my stop any lower than that, I think. We've had this push down, we may get another one. It's just, I don't know what it's going to do at the moment. It's unpredictable. We pushed out here strongly, didn't we? We got through them stops, but then we rejected, didn't we? And then we pushed straight back out again. So, yeah, you don't want to be leaving that much longer, Jacko. The last thing you want to do is take 3 ticks, mate, off down here. Oh, sorry, Sorry, mate. I thought it was Jack I was talking to. Judging by the speed you're typing these comments at, mate, your hands are shaking, aren't they? Yeah, it depends if you're doing on a demo, it doesn't matter, does it? If you're doing on an evaluation, you may leave it a bit. If you're doing it for real money, but yeah, you sat through that. I wouldn't have the confidence in that because I'm thinking if it's coming back in strong. After that came back, I wouldn't expect it to come out again because usually they pop out once and come back in, don't they? Yes, you can't trade this really, can you? There's a second entry short there, but would you want to go short there? It's just floating in the middle of nowhere, isn't it? I'm happy to get that, actually, to be fair. There wasn't massive amount available. There'd have been 2 points at a push, so sometimes I can be a bit greedy, and I did put it down here, actually, thinking we may get a quick move, which would have been lower than this, so I'm quite glad I dragged me stop in here. Just below this middle line. I could have probably taken a little bit more out of it, but I don't know, sometimes, and the way it reversed like that, I'm quite glad I did what I did. You know, in hindsight, we'd have all taken another point out of that, wouldn't we? But unfortunately, we haven't got the, yeah, I got a point out of it. I'm all right with that. If that's all that's really available without taking too much of a risk, then that's good enough for me. Extend the earlier downtrend, Lance. It's still fitting pretty well. This one, oh, that one there. Ooh, yeah, it sort of is, isn't it? I don't know. Well, is that are they reliable? I don't know, actually. It's not something I tend to do. It's fitting well, isn't it? I suppose you could. It's quite a bit of a breakout, isn't it? But yeah, it's fitting well, isn't it? I mean, even if you restart this as a new one, we've had 2 pushes down, haven't we? But it's hard to say at the moment. We seem to be bouncing off this midline again, but I'm quite happy sitting watching. 2-tiered. It's quite. It's not something you see often, really, is it? Yeah, I noticed Marco put his chart up last night and didn't put one I'm pretty sure he didn't put one single trade on, and that's unusual, that is. Just goes to show how tough markets are lately. But if you, like I said earlier, if you can trade these, if you've got the patience to trade these, or you're cutting your teeth for the first time on these markets, then things will only get better in the future, and they'll see, you know, it's the old train hard, fight easy type scenario, isn't it? And if you can learn your craft on markets as tough as these, and they have been hard lately, then you should shine when things eventually get back to normal. Copy it and pull it below. Copy it and pull it below. Are you on about the bigger trend? No, you're not on about. Oh, you're not on about the bigger trend, are you? Copy. Not sure what you mean there, bud. Copy what? Copy this. Were you doing something like that, were you? Oh, I see what you mean. I got you. Okay, yeah, 2-tiered. Let's get the middle line in there. Okay. Yeah, I'll go with that. You could call that a little bit of a overshoot, can't you? That look right? Yeah, that makes a bit more sense, doesn't it? That looks okay. Little bit of an overshoot there. Nothing mega convincing. No, that one you just extended. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the trouble is when I read your comments to there's about a 15 seconds to look sideways. Yeah, it is a bit, isn't it? Yeah, it sort of fits. You could say it's 2-tiered, couldn't you? But it's like a trend and then a range. But yeah, mind you, if you were going to short this, you would short at the top, and if this is a bit sideways, that's where you would short anyway at the top. Let's see what it does from here. But It's just being aware, isn't it, that although this seems down, it could sort of operate in a bit of a range. Let's just up, down, up, down. It's definitely choppy. Probably trade 142. Let's have a look at the bigger picture. This is where you need one of these massive widescreens, isn't it? Tell you what, let's just change the colour of this. Might make it a little bit easier. Okay. That's better. Just gets a bit less confusing then, doesn't it? Yeah, see? I'm not convinced that is working, actually. Let me get rid of it a minute. That's a little bit more clear. I'd say we've certainly got a bit of a trend working there. Although it doesn't matter now, does it? Sort of. We've had a break in a... Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. We've had this trend working down. We've had a break. 2 pushes down to a new low. And then we've had some sideways stuff. We've had a couple of pushes out. And now we seem to be rocketing up. Probably, possibly, maybe this midline I would expect to something... Okay. Yeah, it's just unpredictable now, isn't it? I don't think I'll be comfortable doing anything here, actually. I'm just going with the lowest... I mean, theoretically, you're supposed to go with the lowest part on you. I'm not sure sort of like one leg back here, 2 legs. You would think really you were starting at the leg from there, but actually it starts from about here. So, are you still with it, are you? Oh, good on you, lad. Wow, good on you. Up. Trouble is, sometimes it is worth sticking with him, isn't it? If you watch that gorilla trade, he sticks with everything he does. I think he rarely gets less than 5 points. He got 32 points yesterday. I saw him get 15 or 18, 15 points and 19 points. He got 35 points in the one day a few days ago. Just a shame he charges $100 a month to watch him. Oh, my Bitcoin's looking nice. Let's have a look. Oh, lovely. And I bought Bitcoin at 22.6. We're at 23,000 now. So I'm taking mine up to 28,000 and making myself $4,000. Whether it'll happen or not, I don't know. Okay, so we've had this break. I suppose it was a new high, was it? I'm not comfortable with going long or short here at the moment. That might be a break in a new high. It might come down. It's certainly looking like it's going up at the moment. I wouldn't say it was a convincing high, but I've got to count it as a high because what I don't want to do is come back here and take a long and end up getting arse shafted. Does look like it's moving up at the moment. The trouble is, when you've had such a day like that, it's quite hard to believe sometimes with that much sort of pushing down that it can push back up, but it can do, can't it? That's where the open is. Let's step that way. Okay. Trouble is, it might just come back in here and then teeter on down. It's so hard to say. I'm certainly not confident about going along here. Although it is looking up, but I'd want something better than a first entry. And that sort of measured move has played out, hasn't it? So, shafted. Easy there. That's what we call it over here. 3 hours of trading and $91. I think that's just paid for my paid for the electric bill. I think it's just to run these screens. I don't know. I'm just happy to be green on a day like this. I'm happy being green. It could have gone so much worse, couldn't it? And you know when you are reading these charts right, when you're not taking many trades because there's just not a lot of opportunities at the moment. Time to recess. Recess? What's that? Reassess. Is that how you're spelling reassess? Oh, I couldn't read it. I found that 33. That doesn't mean a lot to me there, Drew. Sorry. That's way above my pay grade. So would I want to go long here? No. Not without a decent setup, and I'm just not convinced at the moment that 2 legs have played out, and technically it's a break and a new high, or at least a matching high. Is it going to go higher? Possibly. Certainly trying to, but it's just risky, I think. Reassess. I think that's still spent wrong, isn't it? But I'm getting what you're saying. Is there a C in it? Is there? I don't know. I know a lot of you American guys spell things different. So you call mum, don't you? M-O-N. Well, that's not right. It's mum, M-U-N. You need some lessons in English. I'll give you some English lessons next time. While I'm here on my stream tomorrow, I'll give you some English lessons. Well, I'll correct all your bad wording. So you're calling your mum your mum. Free English lessons. I'll throw in some free English lessons. In fact, you probably speak English better than I do, actually. I'll teach you to speak proper English like I does. So I take it, are you out? You're still in, bud, are you? Are you still in here? If you've sat for this lot, I'd say you're probably sitting here, aren't you? Mahala. Where are you from, Mahala? Is that are you a lady? Is that a girl's name? Is it, or is it a lad's name? I'm not too sure there. Mahala. It sort of sounds female-ish. Where are you from, and are you a boy or are you a girl? And if you are a boy, I apologise. Your spelling's just getting better with age, mate. Lesson 1, don't get your arse shafted. Yeah. Jim, I am manager from London. I told him one day, I'll go to England and teach you to speak proper English. He looks horrified. I don't know. The UK is becoming that multicultural now. There are places in the UK that I can't even speak the language. Very multicultural. Especially London. I mean, I haven't been to London for a few years, but it's very multicultural now. I don't mind people being whoever they want to be. You know, any sort of different religions and all this sort of stuff, as long as they don't ram it down my throat. You can be who you want to be. I'm quite happy with all that. I'm not racist in any way. I don't mind. You can be who you want to be. Yeah, this is unpredictable. No woman. It's just a surname. I am from Slovenia, living in Germany. Okay. No woman. Does that mean you're not a woman, or no, I am a woman? It's just a silly name. Okay, so I'm guessing you're a guy, yeah? You're a guy? Just put guy if you're a guy. Put a picture of a beer glass or something up there. It's just a silly name. I will change it. Oh, I got you. Okay. Because that actually looks like, it sort of almost looks like an Indian name, Mahala. I've sort of heard that an Indian lady's name, but I don't know. You're from Slovenia. Slovenia, living in Germany. I've been to Germany a couple of times, but when I was very young, my sister was born in Germany, in Lemgo. But my stepdad was in the army, so we spent time in Munster and Lemgo. I can't remember much about it. I remember being really sick on the boat. Was that the boat? No, it might have been something else. Forget I said that. I'm waffling on now. This is really unpredictable, isn't it, this? Dead choppy. It's yeah. It's an untrustworthy upward bias, isn't it? Let's get rid of that. Male. Now I know what you're talking. I got you. So you're originally from Slovenia. Slovenia. Let me quickly Google it and pretend I know exactly where it is. I know it's in Europe somewhere. I'm not really Googling it. I'm not really typing it, just sounds like I am. I don't know how well my geography is. But I'd say if I was to guess it, I'd say you're probably somewhere south of Austria, something like that, maybe. Maybe north of Croatia. These are just rough guesses, these are. And you're not mega far from Italy, I think, are you? All right, maybe I did. Maybe I did Google it quite nicely. I've been to Austria before. Yeah, you're sort of north in between Austria and Croatia, aren't you? So Germany's not a million miles away for you, is it? No, you're not far away. Northwest. So you've got the edge of the mountain range, haven't you? Hmm. You took that trap that shorted. It was a good 4 points. What trap that shorted? I'm not sure what you mean there. What trap? That one? I don't know. I'm taking your 4 points came from here somewhere, did it? Yeah. Yeah, I googled it really. My geography is not that impressive. This is really messy. This is, in fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do to make this a little bit clearer is I'm just going to move this over to the side a bit and leave it a bit there for now. Yeah, this is really, I'm just wondering whether this ends up being some form of a range. It's hard to say, really. It's almost like the bottom of this, isn't it? Let's just pop that there for now. I think it's too risky drawing an uptrend, I think. Let's have a look. Sort of fits, but not convincingly enough for me to think I'm going along there. That's the trouble. I'm trying to avoid these because at the moment it's just a series of choppiness. So whenever I draw these... Excuse me a second. Whenever I draw these larger channels, when something's not that obvious, I can get a little bit stuck and trapped. I'm trying to just focus on this type of thing, really. It's not convincing, really, is it? But oh, shit. Oh, is it really worth it? Bit too finicky, that. Yeah, we seem to be moving up, don't we? But how long were we going to move up to? Are we going to move up to this middle line? In fact, I'll leave it there a minute because we may move up to this. It's just hard to say at the moment, isn't it? It's just not clear, is it? Let's put that there so at least we know where the midline is. We're sort of moving. It's clearly an upward bias. We've had this sort of this downtrend as part of this bigger overall. We've had a break and a few drops to a new low, and we've stuck here and we've started moving up a bit, but it's not convincing. I don't know whether it's going to be too dangerous doing something like that or not. It actually fits okay, so I don't think it's too bad. We just got to be a bit careful because going long is just, yeah. Trouble is you can get caught into doing a long off here, and when we're really only going sideways, but actually that fits better there, fits there, touches there, not so bad there, fits there, but two legs down. I'm not confident in going long here at the moment because it's not as clear as an uptrend. It's a choppy uptrend, and you just got to be extra cautious there. I'm certainly being extra cautious. So it's not somewhere where I really want to be going long. You may start to, it's just a bit risky. I'm happily going home on that if nothing's obvious. This just isn't going to jump out as an amazing trend, as an amazing trade for me. So it could come down there anyway. So yeah, Would you call this a break? I'm not convinced that is a really good uptrend anyway. Certainly not enough to try and ride it back in if we call this a break. That's not to say it's not going to work. Okay, I'm going to give it about another 15 minutes, I think, and then I'm going to go and get my dinner. Just get that a minute. It's twice, 3 times. You could call this a triple test, but this is the type of thing I'm staying away from at the moment. Although it's fitted quite nice. That one was a lot neater for a lot longer. It's just, yeah, it's just, I'm not keen on that. No, not really. Where are you from, what? Ex-Yugoslavia. Where are you from, what? You're US. What Basson? No, that's not a US name, is it? Where are you from? Are you ex-Yugoslavia? Is that what you mean? Well, I did draw it, but it wasn't convincing enough for me to sort of. It sort of is, but I don't know. To be honest with you, it more bounced off this line rather than out of. Oh, you're South Africa, are you? Ah, so you like your cricket, do you? Are you a cricket fan? Oh, I got you. Yeah, yeah. You're a cricket fan. So, where are you in South Africa? What are you? Because I love it when we beat South Africa at cricket, which often happens, actually. In fact, I think we've got South Africa soon, haven't we? Uh, I'm pretty sure we've got South Africa. I love thrashing South Africa. It makes me feel really good. I think if you're South African, you either love cricket or you don't. I think I'm pretty sure we got when I was young. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we got a test match against South Africa. Actually, one of my favourite players is South African. Well, came over and played for a decent team, England. KP. But yeah, I think your system's over there, isn't it? You've got this system where you have to have a certain amount of black players in the side, don't you? So, and there's this different system that works in there, isn't it? And I think that's why KP came over here. Actually, we've got a few players over here actually. Ex-South African. Who's in on Jason? There's a few actually. Came over here. But yeah, I'd like to go. I'm probably going to go at some point in my life. There's nothing nicer than Newlands, I've got to say. That just with Table Mountain in the background looks absolutely stunning. We had a test match there, maybe. Yeah, affirmation, yeah. We had a test match there, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was Boxing Day, and it was a Newlands Stadium with Table Mountain. What a stunning place. I've got to say, it looks fantastic. I've been to Africa myself. I went to Kenya for a few years. For a few weeks. So we did the old. We got married out there, me and my wife. So we've done the old on the coast and went out for a safari to the Masai Mara for a long weekend. So beautiful country, I've got to say, and a place that's on my list to go for sure. Yeah, you could say that's a trend, although it's a messy one and a bit unconvincing. It's just windy as hell, freezing cold by the sea there. Yeah, I got to say, when we were in Kenya, we actually stopped in the Masai Mara, and they had sort of old-fashioned tents and big double beds, and they actually came out and put hot water bottles in your bed before you went to bed at night because it can be. Are you there now? Are you? So you're what are you? A couple of hours ahead? Are you? Something like that. You're more or less straight south, aren't you? South, sort of southeast. Yeah, I got to say, it's a beautiful country. Yeah, we've got this, and we had this. You could say it was a break and pushing, but it wasn't a convincing place for me to go along there. That wasn't brilliant. If I was going along there, it wouldn't be because of the trend. It would be more because we bounced off the bottom section of the range 3 times. But that wasn't brilliant to me. That's not massively convincing. But obviously, then we just sort of rocketed up, didn't we? And so 2 hours ahead of you. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we got a test match coming up actually soon. England South. Oh. Maybe not. Oh no, we haven't. We haven't. I thought we had. I think you got the West Indies at the moment, actually. You're gonna call it a day? Yeah, take it easy, Wood. I'll catch up with you tomorrow, my friend. I like that. Okay, so what are we going to do here? Let me just remove that a minute. I'm not a massive fan of it. I'm thinking more on the lines of this at the moment. I'm quite happy that the way things have gone today. I know it hasn't been a super massive resourceful day, but at least I've managed to take a trade in a reasonable place, and I haven't been suckered into some poor trades. Every day I manage to sit through this crap. Makes me feel a little bit better about my patience. Because sometimes you are going to get days like this and you're going to have to muster up the patience. So when you do, when you can sit through all this and not take a trade, it's a good thing, really. Not the most massive earner, that one. Probably could have got another point out of it, but I managed to pick it and take something out of it, and that's what counts. This is really choppy. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Let's have a look at this. Okay. Last thing I want to do is suck it into something at the top of this within this range. I much prefer a break and a new high. Same again, down break, new low. Although it may just bounce off here, I don't really want to get involved in that. I'd rather a bit of a break and then a pull up. But to be honest with you, I'm not a massive fan of these tops and bottoms because it's questionable whether that's going up or sideways. We had very similar down here, didn't we? We had this, what looked like a downward bias, and then a lot of sideways before we came down again. Now we've done the same. We come down, we've had a bit of a sideways. It's almost sort of two-tiered, but it's got an upward bias, but it's just hard to say at the moment. I don't really want to trust either or. You could say that was a break. It does fit kind of nice, but it's still very sideways. I know, was it somebody mentioned that Thomas Wade says the less steep these are, the less reliable they are. And it's almost sideways, up a bit. It's sideways, but with an upward bias. And that's something I'm trying to learn to leave alone. So I'm just going to remove that just for the time being. It's just looking sideways to me just at the moment. Certainly these last few swings up and down. Especially after this was lower than this, so Okay, I think I'm going to cut. I got my daughter. How long are you going to be, Dad? I'm probably going to knock it on the head, actually. It's been quite a slow day. I've had the one trade. I'm something up. I may pop back for half an hour later. I'll see. But at the moment, it's just boring the arse off me. It's just slow. We've had this sort of downward trending bias thingy with a bit of sideways and a bit of... so let's just have a quick look at this, see what happens here. Am I thinking up? Slightly up. Am I thinking up confident enough to take a trade? Not really. We've had this push up, break, new high, push down, break, new low, push up, break. But I want to go long into this. I don't know. Wasn't really an option there, but it went up, did it? So, incidentally, guys, if I mentioned it earlier, if you haven't, 80% off evaluations at the moment. Any size evaluations, there's my code there. If you're interested, there it is. Yeah. So you get 80% off any evaluation size, many as you want. But if you are failing them at the moment, I'd just say stick to minimal amounts of them. But it doesn't cost you anything more. I get a small kickback, but it's there, and it's running for a week till Valentine's Day. So it's there if you want it. Right, yeah, we've had this break, and I'm not interested in getting into that. I'm going to knock it on the head, guys, for the day. We've done just over 3.5 hours. So if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, and you'll get a notification every time I go live. I am going to start to put out a couple of little videos, I think, just now and again, on a few little ideas I've got. But so I appreciate you hooking up with me. And I've enjoyed the chat. Nice chatting and getting to know people. It's just nice mixing with other traders, getting other different, people's ideas and all that. But I might pop back later for an hour, we'll see. But until tomorrow, have a great evening. If you're carrying on trading, good luck, stay safe, and I will catch you all just before market opens again tomorrow. Take it easy. Thanks, Mahala. Thank you.